Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. We're going to continue our series on psychological warfare, started a couple months ago, with the topic: does the dominant society, them folk, use disinformation to maintain world dominance? So, first and foremost, to start with that topic, we're going to have to examine what is disinformation. Well, according to our brother Professor Griff of Public Enemy, he says, "quote A disinformation agent is a highly placed agent who passes disinformation to other governments." Well, yes, yes, and yes. Check out a book called "Confessions of an Economic Hitman." There was a guy, real smart, kind of geeky kid. They went to one of them schools. The school escapes my mind, but it's not important. One of those fancy, I think it was Oberlin or just a really academic school in Cambridge. I mean, in Boston, Massachusetts. Uh, he said when he finished college, he got recruited by the CIA, and he became an economic hitman. Well, his job was to use disinformation to control governments. So we could talk about this all night. Uh, if you look at Professor Griff's definition of a disinformation agent, I just read, what's the key term? Highly placed agent, right? So we're going to deal with foundational Black American society right now, but this applies to the world. There's a really good movie if y'all want to watch how this shit really works. It's a movie with Matt Damon called The Good Shepherd that shows how this shit really goes down. But the key is you need somebody of high influence, right? So I was watching the Kamala Harris. I don't even remember the dude she was running with. I don't remember his fucking name. It doesn't matter. But because they lost. But I'm being ugly. But anyway, if you remember, millions of dollars were spent on entertainers. And if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, these entertainers were agents who were placed in, allegedly, let me be careful with this, allegedly placed in foundational Black American society. These entertainers included a list of names, but I often wondered, were they taking money? Some of them were taking money allegedly to spread disinformation into the Black foundational Black American society. What type of information am I talking about? Information such as foundational Black Americans are, we're nothing but a bunch of hoochie mamas and thugs, which is not the truth. I was just talking to our colleagues outside of space a couple hours ago, and I was saying that I've been a foundational Black American for a long time, and I know more foundational Black American bookworms and scholars and Olympic athletes, and we're not hoochie mamas. As Kevin Samuels pointed out with statistics from, I think it was blacksociety.com, 70% of Black males are single and childless and have professional jobs. We're not some sorry ass dude going out making babies. Damn near 70% of us don't have children, never been married. So it's different disinformation. How is that agenda being pushed that Black men are trifling? Well, it's done with disinformation agents put into high places, put into movies where they portray just what Tyrese portray, baby boy, right? That wasn't reality. That happens, sure it does. But guess what? As our sister Wani Spots pointed out several spaces ago, that happens in every society. Every society has a demographic of sorry asses, along with successful people. But foundational Black Americans have a higher probability of successful people than not because of the culture, the real culture that we live in. So if you look back to COINTELPRO, according to Professor Griff, COINTELPRO is an acronym used for a series of FBI counterintelligence programs used to neutralize political dissidents. Professor Griff says Although covert operations have been employed throughout the bureau's history, the Cointelpro of 1956 to 71 were broadly targeted against radical political organizations. In the early 1950s, the Communist Party was illegal in the United States. The Senate and House of Representatives set out investigating committees to persecute communists and publicly expose them. So basically, um, our music was targeted in that time. Look at that time frame; it's so critical. Griff says 1956 through 71. If we were to examine those time periods with respect to the foundational Black American community, you would see um, Black children walk around with ties, suits and ties, and Sunday dresses on with nice little hairdos, and dress professionally. Why did COINTELPRO get into that? They wanted to flip the ideology that I mean, our culture of being upstanding, being decent. 80% of foundational Black Americans were married. It was a man and woman in the household. That was a threat, ladies and gentlemen. Having a man and woman, the family is the greatest threat to the system of white supremacy. Having a man in the house, having a woman in the house working together. And that was an agenda on a very high level to place agents inside of our community that challenged the idea that Black men and women are married. I just finished some scholarship, just got published with our sister Wani Spots. Me and her have a joint scholarly venture, a book, where we identified Shirley. I identified Shirley Chisholm as a disinformation agent. Think about it. Shirley Chisholm, she came into our uh, environment, and she wasn't even foundational Black American. She was Caribbean, but she spread the ideology that Black American women don't want a man. That was disinformation. Because how was it disinformation? Because number one, it was not true. Foundational Black American women loved and respected their men. You want evidence of that? Go ahead and look up one of my heroes, Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer was out here spitting hot fire, and she took up for her man, her husband, who she was happily married to. But Shirley Chisholm came out spreading a whole nother disinformation agenda. And Shirley Chisholm, over time, with funding from the dominant society, um, uh, slowly morphs into your sexy red. It's There was a movie, an old movie I used to watch with my dad called 2001: A Space Odyssey. And in the beginning, it was some Wani, what do you call that human being that's almost like a caveman? What's the scientific term?
Neanderthal,
I think they were
Homo
Neanderthals.
erectus,
Homo erectus, yes.
hominid.
Them. So in the beginning of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a futuristic movie, they show Homo erecti, two Homo erecti playing with rocks. They're basically naked and they're playing with rocks. And one takes a bone, and it's a beautiful scene. And he starts hitting the bone on the ground, making grunt sounds, and then he picks the bone up, and they're playing that music, dun 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 dun, and he throws the bone in the air, and the bone flips in slow motion and turns into a fucking spaceship. Um, I thought that was a beautiful transition, showing how um, over time, ideology and technology evolves from a bone, because that bone was technology, but it turned into a spacecraft. Well, Shirley Chisholm, if you could use your imagination with me for a while, let's somebody take her by the ankle and throw her ass in the air and flip her end over end in the sky. Shirley Chisholm turned into sexy red. That's disinformation, ladies and gentlemen. Robbie Blue, I know you know a lot about feminism and disinformation. Educate us on your thoughts, brother. It's good to see you.
Good evening. Good evening. How you guys doing? Shout out to you. Shout out to Wani. Um, I think the main thing when it comes to misinformation, specifically when I think of feminism, I think about how it's been propagated by white women. Um, they weaponize it and use it, as leverage to get their own power and to look out for themselves. And they love to be, what's the best way? It kind of reminds me of that movie Avatar. Like, if you can use someone else to be on the front line and use someone else to fight your battle for you, you can sit back safe, sound, and comfy. And that's basically what I'm seeing right now. Like, they're all acting like they're flabbergasted and they want to do all these protests against Trump. But interesting enough, that stabbing situation that happened with the young man defending himself, I can't tell you how many countless white women who are supposed to be allies of black people that are going out of their way to have leaps in logic to not only demonize that young man, but everything that I'm hearing people say, it just lines up with white supremacy. So, like I've said on many occasions, people want to be part-time minorities with full-time benefits, and that can't be allowed, and it won't be allowed because we're calling it out. It's like, yeah, I guess that's the best way now to do it. And I'll land my plane there. Part-time minority with full-time benefits, and it's been a finesse the whole time. And every time there's a litmus test for people to either choose between choosing humanity or white supremacy, it's too comfortable for them to just retreat back to white because white is not only a social construct; it's an attitude. And I'll land my plane.
Now, I put something in the chat, and it's about the statistics of black men. We have our own people that come in the room and spout white supremacy statistics. Oh, all the black men are in jail. This is happening and that's happening. And no, black men's achievements in education are right in line with white men. Their earnings, employment, yes, we do earn less, but that's with a lot of oppression, and it's not that much less. So when you look at it, you can see that 96% of black men are not in jail, and 98% of white men are not in jail. Our statistics are not the way that we portray them, and it's based on a bunch of propaganda, which we've been victims of for centuries. Um, Statistics are used to skew information. I'll give you an example. Sandy Hook is where all those children died in a mass shooting. The FBI posted that no murders had happened in that town. Why do they do that? I lived in a town that they did that in. Okay. They posted zero murders happening, zero crimes, and yet they refuse to take reports on these crimes. So that's one thing they do. They won't take the report. They'll just tell you, hey, yeah, you got punched in the face by a meth addict, but he's not going to go to jail anyway because he's homeless. So you better not file the report. There's no point in it. That's one of the ways. Another way they skew the statistics is when um, a lot of people out here in California are on drugs. And so they just simply allow them to steal. They just say, yeah, they can steal up to 900 and some dollars. And so they do. They come in with a pillowcase and raid the stores and take whatever they want. And then they can feed themselves and they can also fund buying more drugs. So they're basically giving them a way to not get in trouble, and most of the people doing this are white, okay? 99%. I've never seen a black man go into one of those stores with the pillowcase. So out at the beach in Santa Monica and all up and down the coast, this is something that sustains white men. They don't need welfare because they can just go in the store and steal whatever they want. And they can actually survive doing that, and they have a way to sell it. They use these statistics and they don't want to drive down their property values. So they don't tell you that these things are happening. They won't take the report, or they simply don't, the FBI doesn't require that they report this. So they just talk about Chicago. Oh my God, did you see what's happening there? The other way that they skew it is that Chicago has a lot of unsolved crimes, and they just make you assume every crime happening is a black man.
Preach.
And the whole time it's a bunch of Latinos shooting up the place and white boys wearing black men masks. I mean, it's ridiculous. They don't even have these crimes solved, and they are just, they're portrayed as us doing the crimes. Not only are we not doing all the crimes in Chicago, but they don't have to post their crimes. Literally, go look it up. The FBI doesn't require Sandy Hook in Connecticut to post those 20 some murders. That drives their property value down, and they can't have that. They don't care that those children died. They don't want to warn anybody. And when the years pass by, someone's going looking for a house. How many murders were over here? None. Oh, great. This is a wonderful area. In the meantime, everywhere we go, they post, they overpost any statistic that's negative, and I tell you, they lie because our own people were brainwashed into believing we were all in jail and on drugs. And in fact, our college attendance, our jail being locked up is the same as white people, only a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on what statistic we're talking about. And we just have to understand that. And they'll put out fake charts, but these are legitimate um, statistics. And they say the same thing. They start showing all these football players marrying white women, and you'll hear a black woman in the comments crying, "All the black men are wearing what?" No, they're not. If anything, you could say that Asian women disrespect their men. They don't. They marry out most of everybody. No, they don't. Native American people marry other people. They don't like each other. They're in the 60% of marrying out. Asians are in the 30%. The women in the 30%. White men marry out as well. Not only they don't tell you this part. They don't like their women. They've been cheating on their women for hundreds of years in their face with us,
With us, yes.
we're creating a whole new ethnicity over it. But now their little scam is to go find some European woman that's going to be grateful to them. And those women come over and learn the rules and kick them to the curb just like the other women do. So they marry out too, but because it's a white woman from Europe, it doesn't count. But they do that. They're the original passport boys.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring this up a couple more times throughout the duration of this space because it's so important. Thank you to the University of Michigan for granting me access to this scholarship. If you look in the jumbotron, quickly read. I tell you, like I tell my students, read silently as I read aloud. What I'm about to read is an official redacted um, document from the Federal Bureau of Investigations. This isn't. Let me say this shit again. This is an official document. The date, as you see stamped on here, is September of 1967. What was going on in 1967, ladies and gentlemen? The Civil Rights Movement, right? The Vietnam War was going on too, as well. I'll talk about that in a minute. At the top in the memo, you see it's coming from the top of the bureau, and the heading is Counterintelligence Program, and it says Black Nationalist. It says hate groups, but we never been hate groups. We don't. I don't think we're really that capable of hating. That's another story. Below that, it says internal security. So right there in the memo, it's telling you that Black unity was perceived as an internal security threat. Why? Why was it considered a threat to internal security? Well, like I said yesterday, if you think of that hierarchy of that feudal hierarchy, Black unity threatened that feudal hierarchy, right? What does the memo read? It reads as follows, quote, offices receiving copies of their letter are instructed to immediately establish a control file, captions as above, and assign the responsibility for following and coordinating this new counterintelligence program to experienced. Oh my God. Look at these words. Experience and imaginative. Put a pin in that word, FBA people, my brothers and sisters. Put a pin in imaginative. I'm gonna get back to that in a moment. Special agent that will well versed in the investigations relating to Black nationalist hate type organizations. The field office control file under this program may be maintained in a pending interactive status until. Oh wow. pending inactive status until such time as a specific operation or technique be placed under consideration for implementation. What is the purpose? Second paragraph, ladies and gentlemen. Read it along with me so you know that I'm not bullshitting, I'm dead serious. It says the purpose of this new counterintelligence endeavor is to expose, disrupt, this is making me sad reading this, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of black nationalists. Wow. You can read the rest. But below that, it says priority areas are Atlanta, Baltimore, Boston, Buffalo, Charlotte. Memphis, Tennessee is on there as priority too. Wow. St. Louis, Washington, New York, New Orleans, Los Angeles, Jackson, Mississippi, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, Charlotte, Buffalo, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're reading along with me is a plan to disrupt black unity. If I were looking for a reparations claim, I would throw this in there as well. I would show that this is evidence officially stamped and marked by the federal government to disrupt the black community, to disrupt black families. Now let's go back to that word, imaginative. What does imaginative mean? That used to be one of my favorite words. Imaginative means creative, creatively, to have an imagination, to be creative. And you want to know where this memo ended up infiltrating? Our goddamn music. You think Sexy Red's an accident? No. She's following, she may not know it. It's called an unwitting agent or useful idiot. I don't know. Maybe she does know. I don't know. But what I do know is her music, along with a lot of other music, is in direct correlation to this memo. What is it? What does the music do? It disrupts black unity. How do I know? I was a professor for years at a small historically black college that I love so much. I'm not gonna put their name on spaces. I love that little school, and I witnessed some of my 19-year-old brilliant little girls, they little girls to me, um, drop out of college to try to be like Sexy Red. And I overheard talks at the student union of, "Girl, I'm done with college. I'm gonna get me an OnlyFans. I can make more money doing this than being an accountant." Ladies and gentlemen, that's disinformation. That OnlyFans page is going to ruin their chances of being a school teacher or an attorney or a mayor or a housewife. Really, think about it. Who wants to marry somebody who has an OnlyFans page? This is warfare 101, ladies and gentlemen. And what does it do? It maintains world dominance because it puts us into a caste, into a likeness that ain't us.
Man, that is so deep.
It's in your face, Robin, right there. Somebody please argue with me on this.
No, all I was gonna say, because as you were speaking, my wheels were spinning, and you just got look in psychology. One of my teachers said something that always stuck in my head. All behavior is learned behavior. So what that means is they're creating behavioral models to shape social norms. And to your point, since you're pointing out that it's COINTELPRO, it kind of makes me think like the Nazis were doing experiments to like test the threshold of pain and mental stamina of people when they were in those concentration camps, and so did the Japanese. They did the same thing to us on the plantations. They would try to test our threshold of pain, and then they already know, okay, now it's time to bring in some religion. Now it's time for somebody to come in and talk them down so they don't get too angry because we don't want up there to be an uprising. And it's like they keep trying to test the limits of that threshold as long as it's running concurrent with capitalism, because they need people to practice retail therapy. They need, it's like what Brother Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand racism, white supremacy, everything will confuse you. So you'll start looking for solutions. We start pointing the finger at each other. And I'll land my plane with this because it was something Wani that was saying earlier that was so powerful. When it comes to disinformation on a grassroots level, what we see in terms of of it bearing fruit and rearing its ugly head, unfortunately comes to brothers and sisters who aren't committing crimes, which are the vast majority of us. Did you see the story of the brother in Whole Foods? Some people said he was overreacting. I don't think he was overreacting because there's plenty of times I've thought about doing the same thing at Walmart, except sometimes I actually need my stuff. That's when it really sucks because when
Rob,
they
let me slow you down right quick because I'm
go
just
ahead.
seeing that story. I'm not aware of it. Could you tell us the story of Whole Foods?
Pretty much from because I seen the longer version on YouTube. This brother was in there shopping, and I think you know how you buy your groceries, and then inside the store, I think he went to like the cafe or something to just eat and lounge and eat something. So a white Hispanic male basically told him, "Are you going to pay for our stuff?" He used the keywords in air quotes, "our stuff." You know, so he put himself out there to be the vanguard of Whole Foods. Inventory, and the brother just basically ignored him, told him he paid. So he basically profiled the brother, made him feel so uncomfortable, called up security and everything. So he just took a stand and said, "You know what? Since you're going to accuse me of stealing all 230 something odd dollars worth of merchandise that I purchased, I'm going to return it because not only do I have a receipt, but you've gone overboard." So once the brother pulled his camera out, of course the guy, tried to change his story, and what I'm saying is what this brother dealt with Whole Foods, I've dealt with on a number of occasions, and most of the time we blow it off. But this is what I mean. We got to make these people feel it in their pockets. You cannot take our money and treat us like trash, especially when just because you want to put out misinformation, and what's really more disconcerting is what you're saying is our government is complicit in it. So it's not just Johnny come lately that's in the trailer park with the tall boys drinking saying n-word jokes. It's like US policy to play good cop bad cop with the Democratic Party, with the Republican Party. And meanwhile, as the middle class is shrinking, they always use us as the scapegoat. And the thing that adds insult to injury is when you take your hard earned dollars from a job that's trying to cut your benefits, from an area that starts doing white flight, and half the stores move out of your community, so you're kind of forced to either shop in a multicultural area or you have to interact with people. Because I don't know about y'all, I don't believe in doing the whole my groceries are delivered to my doorstep, because you get meth heads who get that wrong. I can't tell you how many times I feel like Homer Simpson. I'm like, dope, dope. I told him what I wanted. I wanted a can of pineapples. This joker gives you some cranberry sauce. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. No, they're drugged out. When I look in the eyes of every non-black male that's in the retail sector in America, they look defeated. You see it in their eyes. They feel neutered. They feel defeated. They feel overworked. They don't feel like there's a future. So they have a choice. They're either going to practice greed or racism. Some of are stoners, and they check out. The other ones, they have to feed like energy vampires on all this misinformation for them to feel good about themselves. And the sad thing is, you got white Hispanics that could get the guacamole slapped out of them, or some of these people get the soy sauce smacked out of them, and they want to be honorary white people and practice anti-black racism on us. It's like that makes my colon power. I'm here to shop like everyone else. You follow me around like I'm stealing. So just because the government has allowed Hollywood and everyone else to put out all this misinformation, you think you're going to be able to F around and not find out. And if you put a down payment on an ass whooping, we will cash that deductible.
Yeah, yeah. That's so true. Robbie brought up it's government policy. Somebody gonna get mad in this motherfucker today. If you look at the memo, look on the second page. It's kind of cut off. It says quote to consolidate their forces or recruit new or youthful adherents. They attacking the youth. They were using the music to get the youth. Must be frustrated. No opportunity should be missed to exploit. These words are in the letter through counterintelligence techniques, the organizational and personal conflicts of the leadership. Wow. That's where King, Dr. King was getting they were trying to frame King as like being cheating on his wife, which there's no evidence he was cheating on Coretta. Getting up in people's family. It says personal conflicts of the leadership of the groups where possible, and efforts should be made to capitalize upon existing conflicts between competing black nationalist organization.
Hold on. Professor, could I ask you a question based on what you just said? Because you
Yes,
just
sir.
sparked something in my brain. You know, like they said, competing factions. They say the gang culture that we have today, they're really the bastards of the Black Panther Party, which makes me think the CIA went in there, they elevated certain people, and even if people wanted to kind of carry out community organizations, they had informants and people to kind of derail the energy. Now, you fast forward. Before Sexy Red, you'll have people who will say, well, we used to have hip hop and then there was gangster rap. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. Man, I played all type of gangster rap when I was growing up. I didn't think anything about it. I didn't even make a difference. So I loved good music. But when we think about the diabolical nature of these people and the psychological implications, do you think them trying to infuse gang culture in our music to try to cause conflict on a subconscious level, do you think that there was kind of like psychological warfare there possibly, or do you think that's a reach?
I think, ooh, I'm not gonna tell y'all everything I know. I'm not gonna have these folk following me around, assassinating me. But no, I can't say that. Never mind. I'm gonna leave this alone. But I will say this. Let me put it to you this way. I had a cousin who actually saved my life in the '90s during the height of the gang warfare. Who said that? He said that the Crips, and Crip was a acronym. It was like it was an organization for liberation or something. I forgot what the acronym was, but it was infiltrated and turned into like a violent gang. These infiltration tactics are in that memo. So a lot of things you see, Robbie, are just fucking spelled out in the memo. And like, this is free information, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the bold thing is it's not hidden. They destroyed our communities, and I'm a '80s baby. I remember it. I've said this on spaces before. I just think, and I've always been kind of like I'm not gonna say smart, but I was real observant and inquisitive. I remember in the early '90s when I was in elementary school, I'm talking about like '92. We little boys used to wear ties and shit, and we were singing Boys to Men, and the whole culture was about, man, we're gonna go to that dance and I'm gonna get this girl. We were in competition. I remember when it changed, Robbie. We were in competition to get the girl. That's the whole culture. And I remember in '94, right around there, Dr. Dre had been out for a little while, Snoop, and there was a shift in '93, '94 from my homeboys would stop wearing tie. I kept wearing the ties. I'm still the same dude I was back then. But my homeboys, who were better looking than me and smarter than me, no shit, and could play ball better than me, all over in the course of a summer, they start being thugged out and wearing, do rag like bandanas and shit, and they were hard. What I'm trying to say is this tactic was thought of heavily. This ain't no poo put shit. One of the best mistakes that ever happened to me was I got into psychology. I was getting a master's degree in education. It was so full of shit, so just crackpot, that I left that program. But I was so student loan vested with student loans that I had to finish the degree, or I would have would have wasted money. So I transferred to educational psych, and I saw it. I was like, wow, these folks used Piaget. They used Erickson, and what's the motherfucker's name, with the Skinner, B.F. Skinner. They use these tactics to attack our music. Ladies and gentlemen, make a copy of that memo in a jumbotron. They use these tactics to exploit the music, and it said it in there. It said no opportunity should be missed. I'm paraphrasing. It said something like that. They went to the music, and I can't tell you how effective that shit was at destroying young black men in Birmingham, goddamn Alabama, because I was there. And Birmingham had a culture. If you look up pictures of the civil rights movement, we had a culture wearing ties and shit. I don't know about New York or Baltimore, but in Birmingham, we wore suits and ties, and that's how you got the girl. But somehow, magically, in my child mind, getting a girl was not about being a suit and tie, upstanding brother with a fresh cut. It turned into being a thug on the street. And the girls played into it too. But it wasn't coming from us, it was coming from outside of us. And it fucking destroyed us. We need to be paid reparations to fix that harm. Half of my friends from that era are fucking dead to gunfire behind that. I'm just a lucky one. Fire Nagy, what's on your mind? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped 7th Ward and Fire Nagy.
Oh,
And
hey,
insane.
good evening, Professor. Uh,
Hey, brother.
yeah. So, yeah, this propaganda. Propaganda is the most effective form of mind control. It says that if I can control what information goes in your mind and what information stays out, I can practically get you to do anything. The CIA thing, the MK Ultra. They tried it with chemical altering substances, and my interpretation of reading that, it was a failure. They couldn't do it. What it did was it made people who were crazy that much more crazy. Because people like Charles Manson, he was part of MK Ultra. The Unabomber was part of MK Ultra. Whitey Bulger was part of MK Ultra. And what it just did, they were already crazy. It just made them more crazy. But yeah, so propaganda is extremely powerful. Uh, but they try to, with feminism, they try to break up the man woman relationship in black society, and they've they for the most part have not had much success there. I've dated exclusively FBA women, and there's every relationship has problems, but the fundamentals are pretty solid. And the objective evidence I can give you for that is that most FBA women marry other FBA men. It's only a small percentage marry outside the lineage. So I mean, like I say, I think the problem is mostly socio-economical when it comes to relationships. But uh, something else you were talking about. You talk about that book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Yeah, I remember reading that book when I was an undergrad, and I think he exaggerated some of the stuff in that book, but uh, but yeah, but he was talking about working for the CIA and everything. He may have, but I think he made up some stuff in that book about that woman Claudine, who he said was his mentoress. I mean that I don't think that person existed. Um, but but you were talking about, yeah, like the FBI and the CIA. They work in propaganda and stuff. I also look into Soviet propaganda. There's a book there's a couple of books which, if you got the energy to read them, because they're not page turners, but there's a lot of information in them. They're called the Matrokin Archives. uh and this is the reason why I don't trust the Russians, because I know what kind of slick and slimy pieces of shit they are. And like, if you read that book, do you know? So we know that the FBI, the CIA, they were trying to discredit MLK.
Oh yeah.
The Soviets were trying to do that too. So so even the white supremacists and the Russians, they hated MLK, and so that's why I don't trust them.
Yeah,
And
you bring up the Russians. I want to point out a little fact nobody talks about that I found out in grad school and ed psych, and it was just it's so funny. Um, when I finished law school, I worked at a firm with a guy. He's dead now, but he taught me a whole bunch. He was Lebanese Catholic, and he'd always say this motherfucker was brilliant. Had a law degree from NYU. He said, "The devil is in the details." He would almost want to say his name, but I don't want to put his family on blast. But he'd say, "The devil is in the detail. Devil is in the details." Well, the detail I learned in grad school was, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know these cameras we love so well. The Russians created the camera, like the motion, not the motion picture, but they created the motion picture camera. As far as history reports, it probably a black dude did, but I digress. But the Russians created it.
somebody who worked for Edison.
Yeah, somebody did it, but the books say the Russians did. But they created the camera, the motion picture camera, as psychological warfare. They called it the Kino eye. Kino, it means a true eye, and the Russians created the camera to better propagate propaganda. So just to piggyback off what you're saying, intelligence agencies in the United States ran with that. They said, "Shit, we're gonna use this to destroy, to element, to create, as the title says, different disinformation to maintain world dominance." You saw that with the shit in the 20s under the leadership of that son of a bitch, Woodrow Wilson. That thing called Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation had just straight up lies in it at the time. At the time in the 20s, the Black American family was at a zenith. We were at a peak because of ideology created by Booker T. Washington of industrial education. Basically, before I bore y'all, we were about our business. We were about building communities. We were about building our own shit, building our own houses, and making our own goddamn clothes. And Birth of the Nation was like, it wasn't the only thing during the Great Migration, but it was like the icing on the cake to say, no, no, no. Black women are not wives and loving mothers. They're sexy red. Used to tell my undergrads a couple years ago that Sexy Red was born on Birth of a Nation. And the sad fucking part about it is the Sexy Red. It's a scene where it's a black maid with a head scarf on that's just trying to have sex with a slave master, and the slave master is like waving at her like she's trash, and then she rips her shirt off, and then she bows at his feet like, "Please have sex with me," and he looks at her like, "No, I would never do that," and turned and walked on her, and she acted a fool and started crying like, I just want to have sex with you because I'm a hoochie." And then at the end, the black man chases the white woman through the woods and trying to have sex with her, and she jumps off a mountain like implementation being, "I'd rather kill myself than make love to a black man." All that was bullshit. The truth of the matter is it was the inverse. The inverse was our women were being chased through the goddamn woods. You know what I'm saying? The inverse was the white married slave owners' wives would threaten the black man to have sex with. So the Kino eye was used as a weapon to propagate disinformation, and it was a Russian ideology, but it was fucking successful. It still is to this day. Watch Fuck My Baby Daddy. You know, the bow, 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 bow song with Sexy Red. That shit is a fucking weapon. It's a smooth, slick weapon, too. 7-4, I don't know if you landed your plane, did you?
Yeah, I think I was getting there. But like back when I was talking about the Soviets, they had a discreditation campaign against Martin Luther King, and so they hated him too, even though he was so that just shows you how good of a man MLK was to where both sides were trying to get rid of him. Uh, yeah, but with that, I yield the mic.
He's right. They tried to destroy, and back to the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. The state, maybe 7-4 can correct me 'cause I forget the details, but it was several stages to compromising uh, a, a jurisdiction or a people to maintain dominance. The first,
Yeah, so
what's
yeah,
the
I'm
stages? Go
sorry, I
for
don't
it.
want to interrupt
No,
you.
no, no. Go for it. Because I don't remember them. What
Yeah,
were the
yeah,
stages?
so just like China now has its Belt and Road Initiative, where they try to do debt trap diplomacy. Actually, the CIA through the World Bank and also the IMF has done that too. They did it to countries like Indonesia, and so they had these big engineering projects there and the money never went to the people in Indonesia. It went to American uh, uh, engineering firms like Bechtel and stuff like that. And so these construction projects were built to help extract the resources, and that's how they were able to pay off the debt. They also did it to, countries in Africa, and but and they also did it. This is not in the book. I don't remember, but I know they did it big to Jamaica. Jamaica had one of the Jamaica still has one of the most onerous debt burdens of any country in the world. And the reason why they did it to Jamaica is because Jamaica also has some of the largest concentrations of the mineral bauxite. And from
Right.
bauxite is where you get aluminum.
Aluminum. Yeah.
So even though the Chinese is doing it now, and I think are doing it in a what's what's the right word? In in a more evil way.
Well,
So
well,
because
let me, because you're going macro. I mean micro. You're going deep into it, but the speakers probably aren't aware of it. So what he's saying, what he's saying, people, ladies and gentlemen, is the tactics was number one to compromise with information. The first step is to get people to offer them money and get them in debt. The second part, if I remember correctly, if they don't accept the money, to compromise them with like sex, send them somebody. If they're married, send a woman in there, real hot woman, and get pictures of them cheating, and use that, or send somebody underage. Does that sound familiar? If that didn't work, I'm leaving one out. I forgot one is another stage.
they sent in the Marines.
Yeah, yeah, that's the last stage. Last stage, if you cannot be compromised, like King was uncompromisable. Oh Lord, you said sending the Marines. You want to know why that's interesting? I talked with our brother Judge Joe Brown when I lived in Memphis. Joe is some real shit. Me and him sat down and talked. He came to my school to talk one time, and Joe said that the people who shot King were from Quantico. You know what I'm saying? He said they were former Marine Corps snipers, but that's a whole, according to Joe Brown. But that's another space for another time. Fire Nagy, spit that fire for us right quick.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Long time no see. I'm glad to be in this space. Um, I think I'm gonna touch on 2 points. First, let me answer the question to the room: does a dominant society use disinformation to maintain world dominance? Let me say to that, yes. However, countries like Russia, countries like China, countries that belonged in the Soviet bloc in particular are not as susceptible to that because they know the power of information. They never allowed the image of the United States to become so great that their people would want to become Americans. Does that make any sense? So I do know for a fact that they don't necessarily allow that type of information in their societies. They seem to have read our history in more detail than people who were considered, I guess you call them third world, because the world was divided into three blocks. The first world being the U.S., the second world being the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact, and the third world being the non-line groups. Most of the so-called third world countries, or the non-line countries, seem to have been very susceptible to our information, and that's why they have the opinion that they have about Black Americans and white Americans. That's why they have these glowing opinions, and the Chinese don't necessarily have those opinions, and neither do the Russians. I'm going to add a little different take on the room for a second. Um, I think the country that we currently exist in the state right now is having internal power conflicts. Walk with me for a second while I try to get to these points. Every time we talk about immigration, notice how they've called the immigrant. It used to be an illegal alien, but now they call this person undocumented. Whenever this person is arrested and deported, they always say they've committed no crime. However, that's false. They entered the country illegally, which is a crime, and they would have the highest criminal population in the United States. They always talk about the immigrant as hardworking. However, Wani, I've been looking for this information, showed how many of them are on welfare. And I can't help but think that the country is in a power struggle within itself. It's trying to create different images for different blocks of the population. We see this right now when they're trying to crucify, Carmelo Anthony, and then all the white people are trying to take some moral high ground and talk about religion when they've never actually been a very moral group of people at all. When you point that out to their faces, like you've
Preach.
never had any morality, and so you can kind of get a feeling that our nation um, uses disinformation within itself within the different blocks of communities. I was pointing this out to friends a long time ago, and I'm glad that people in this room can see this. But every time I would watch a Netflix or a show or a commercial, there'd be a black guy with a Hispanic woman or a black guy with a white woman. And I was like, are they trying to socially engineer us? And I would talk to my friends about this, and I'm like, why do they keep showing that? But most black men I know for a fact do not prefer other groups because we're an ethnic group. Black Americans are. Maybe Africans and Caribs do, but when you're an ethnic group, you have more in common with people of your ethnicity. So the other groups can feel very foreign to you. And I just noticed this even on Netflix. Voltron is now gay. I'm like, what is going on here? And I was talking to friends about this a long time ago, and I said they're trying to socially engineer us. Um, and so yes, it's using disinformation, but it's using different information worldwide to maybe more susceptible countries, but it's also using disinformation within the geopolitical borders of the United States to promote certain groups and to demote certain groups. Um, with that, I yield the floor, and hopefully, I opened up a broader conversation.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, bro. Go ahead, Wani.
No, I was just saying thank you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's this shit is deep, ladies and gentlemen. We getting deep as fuck today. You remember I mentioned Woodrow Wilson? Well, listen to this shit. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, quote on page 365, interesting number of his masterpiece, quote, Congress passed, and Wilson, that's Woodrow Wilson, signed in June of 1917 the Espionage Act. Stop right there. 1917, the Great Migration was getting kicked off. Black community was at a zenith. Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre hadn't happened yet. Greenwood hadn't happened. Um, Black people we were getting to where we needed to be. Woodrow Wilson was sent as a cultural assassin to destroy us, and the fucked up part about it is he needed us to vote him into office. That's when we got tricked into the Democratic Party. Let me give a quick disclaimer: I'm not for any political party. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, so don't get that mixed up. But Woodrow Wilson, according to Dr. Howard Zinn, passed the Espionage Act. Quote, from its title, one would suppose it was an act against spying. However, it had a clause that provided penalties up to 20 years in prison for whoever, when the United States is at war, shall willfully cause or attempt to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty. Stop right there. That was used to go at uh people who were, look at that vague ass word, insubordination, disloyalty. What does that mean? You know, Black Americans who were organizing um their own power were considered disloyal to the system. The system was created in diametric opposition to Black Americans. So this shit goes straight to the top, ladies and gentlemen. Sam takes X. What's your thoughts on this?
Hey, how you doing, man? First off, I'm fairly new to a lot of this information, so I apologize if I'm misinformed. But as the topic, I couldn't agree more. I think it's absolutely true that the powers that be use misinformation to deceive people. And I guess where I would differ, or I don't know, my question, not where I would differ, but my question would be, um, what do you think the root of that is?
The root of disinformation.
No, no, like that that way of acting or that basically moral standard, right? Wouldn't you say that a moral standard? Because whoever's doing that thinks it's morally okay.
I'm
Well, the
But
root.
confused a little bit.
What'd you say, one?
I'm confused a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
elaborate a little
go
bit
ahead.
more.
So um so the way I look at it is this concept, people act it out and they think it's okay. They have to be justified in doing that. Right? So morally they justify it. And when it comes to morals, none of us are born with a set of morals at birth. We're just children. We have no, we develop thoughts. Every behavior is learned. The guy was saying earlier, I agree with him as well, right? Whether it's white or black, right? And I think that this information works because people are misinformed, right? So, like, for an example, if I watch, let's say I'm white and I watch a black person do something violent on television, that might be a truth, but it's not an absolute truth to all black people. We all agree, right? It's easier for me to be manipulated into that being an absolute truth because I'm white and I don't relate to a black person. Where they couldn't manipulate a black person with that because they know that they're black and they're like, well, I'm not violent like that. Why would that be absolutely
Well, it's
true?
not. It wasn't necessarily for weak-minded FBAs. It was for white people. So
Right.
instead of a white family looking at an upstanding, beautiful black
A
mother
person, human
looking
being.
at looking
Yeah.
at Dorothy Dandridge or looking at the standard of beauty
Hmm.
which existed back then, they morphed that doing through disinformation into this likeness right here.
Right. And so my question basically comes then. I'm sorry. Was
Fuck
that?
my baby dad. I'm a fine ass bitch. I ain't in the house sad. That
Oh,
tells the whole world that oh shit, she ain't no wife. She don't have a family.
yeah. That's like a carrot picture. Like I grew up around black women. No one acts like that. That's a very, very dramatized thing.
But
Like
but like you but like
people
you
don't act
but
like
like you
that.
said, if you were a white, like let's say a white honest American family that didn't have
Right.
contact with black people, you didn't know what a black woman looked like. You got contact with TV and you
Right.
hear this.
Yeah.
So
The
they've been
sad part is that
Right.
we believe this as well. That's the sad part. It's hard to push
What's like a
back
form?
when we
Right.
believe that all the men are in jail and on drugs. But
Right. It's a form of like. I'm
no,
sorry. Go
you
ahead.
go ahead.
I don't
Go
mean to
ahead.
interrupt.
I was
Okay.
cutting some.
It's like a. It's like a form of fear mongering. It's like you see how reckless that is. You're not like that. You're kind and innocent. And the reality is, no one's absolutely like that or absolutely like the opposite, right? It's manipulative in both sides of the coin because there's always two sides. So I'm sorry, 1 second. I got a weird alarm on this radio. So my question is like, okay, I see this, right? I take a step back. I take myself out of it. I try to be wise and make, conscious decisions. I see it playing both ways, and I can't help but wonder what is the root and who is the other person who stepped back and said, "Let me take advantage of this." Is it inherently like a white supremacist, or is there bigger powers or evils at play?
it's
And
it's very
I'm
it
sorry.
seems complicated, brother, but it's real
Hmm.
simple. If you need a
Hmm.
group of people to exploit, think of the hierarchy I put in the jumbotron the other day, and you need
Hmm.
people in that peasant class, and you identified
Yeah.
people, foundational black Americans as that peasant class, which we've never been, by the way. You
Right.
portray a black woman saying "fuck my baby daddy" because that enacts on something
Hmm.
called confirmation bias. Because there are white
Yeah.
children walking around that say, "Man, I don't believe that. I think black people are just people." But they're hearing the little
Yeah.
reverberations of black women or hoochies, and they saying "fuck my baby daddy." And when they turn on the TV, bam, confirmation bias. Oh, well, I guess they are now.
Mm.
You have a class to put in prison,
Mhm.
where under the 13th Amendment, Victoria's Secret, fucking Starbucks, is
Mhm.
made for free. It's economic and it's evil.
Right. I agree 100%. Right. Wholeheartedly, I agree with you. And even when people don't accept that, what they do is like practice makes perfect. The more they repeat it, the more they, it's programming. That's why they call it television. They tell you a vision and then they program you based on what programming you choose, right? I guess my point is the people that do that were still born a person. And as they develop, they accepted some sort of moral foundation, right? Like I'll use myself as an example. I don't morally think that's justifiable because I build my foundation in Christ. And I find my foundation in Christ through actually reading the Bible and trying to understand it. And don't get me wrong, I don't understand probably 90% of it, but even my little 10%, I could have like at least a little bit of a moral compass, right? Based on its teachings, right? And so my question
Have you
is,
seen that
I'm
picture
sorry.
of the Ku Klux Klan meeting at the
Hmm.
church? Meeting at the Christian
Uh,
church?
maybe not specifically. I might have. I
Yeah.
don't want to lie to you.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a picture of them meeting in 1927 at a Christian church.
Oh,
So it's
right.
very strange how they're what they feel about Christianity. Apparently, we're not part of the
Mm.
human population, and it
And that's,
doesn't matter if we
oh
get killed or if they eat our fingers or if they make
my God.
and if they do cannibalistic acts on us or make postcards out of it. This has to be their perception, or else they're
Right.
just like,
It's
what kind of
disgusting.
Christians could they
Yeah.
be unless they do perceive us as animals that they could do this to. Other than
Right.
that, they're hypocritical Christians because if they
Yeah.
do perceive us as human, then they're just running around killing human
Yeah.
beings. So which one is it? I
Absolutely.
mean, I don't know which one it
Exactly.
is.
Well,
Well said.
Dr. James Cone wrote a book called The Cross and the Lynching Tree. And James Cone, who
Mm,
died, one of America's best theologians and religious figures, had a conflict because he said if Christianity in America was about love, then why are there two different churches? We never created the term black church. We didn't do that. It
yeah.
was created for us, so it was separated. Dr. Howard Zinn says on page 177 the need for such, this is in 1802. He said the need for slave control led to an ingenious device paying poor
Mm,
whites, themselves so troublesome for 200 years of Southern history, to be overseers of black labor and therefore buffers of black hatred. And Dr. Zen says
mm,
something nobody wants to hear. He says religion was
mm,
used for control. So Christianity,
yeah.
all religion really, was used to was
Yeah.
manipulated to control the population. So you're looking at
Right.
economic, back to our space yesterday, economic exploitation done by any means necessary. But you did bring up an interesting point about morality. Obviously, foundational Black Americans had some sense of morality, some sense of
Hmm.
unity before Woodrow Wilson got his ass involved with our livelihoods. So that, in my view,
Okay.
is further information that foundational Black Americans already had a long-standing cohesive culture in America that the powers that be sought to disrupt.
I
We're gonna
sort of
go.
agree.
We're
Oh,
gonna
go ahead.
go
Go ahead.
to.
Sorry, I'll land my plane.
Oh,
Like,
go
if
ahead.
you want to talk, sorry.
Okay,
No,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good. Yeah.
We're gonna go to FBA Law and then Robbie. Go ahead, FBA Law.
Good evening to the room. How you doing, Professor? And my one how y'all doing today?
What's up, brother?
You got it. Look, the movie, The Birth of the Nation. I didn't watch it like a couple of times. I always skip through it just because I just like seeing what's going on. But I say that that movie is the blueprint that or playbook for all whites to go to. Even in 2025, people use that movie to know what to say. The black man wants me. We savages. We picking our feet. Just from the stuff that they were showing in there. And my thing is, do you think that movie by itself is what they use as the biggest propaganda to place lies against us, even in today's time?
What was that last part? I missed you. You broke up
My
for
bad,
me.
it cut off. I was saying, do you think that by watching that movie, do you believe that white people still watch that movie to this day just so they can have their talking points because that's the biggest propaganda and they use that to dispel lies against us?
I think it's deeper than that. I think the captains of society, to quote that movie everybody in here needs to watch, called The Good Shepherd with Matt Damon. The captains, the selected few. Damn, I want to say some names, but I don't want to do it. That, let's just say, that run certain social media. These captains of society study in dark rooms. They study that movie as a framework to create other frameworks. They study that movie on a deep psychological unconscious mind. And ladies and gentlemen, this ain't no poo puck kindergarten mess. We're dealing with PhDs. Y'all know that. I worked on a I worked, the highest job I've ever had was at the college. I was a administrator and a professor, but they put me on a grant to study COVID-19, and I had to write the report to Congress. I'm not bragging on myself. Not that ain't don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is I was the spook who sat by the door for 3 years. And I sat there quiet with my little tie on, pretending like I didn't know shit at over at Rhodes College. That's where Jasmine Crockett went, but that's a whole nother story. And what I learned by shutting my mouth and just smiling and drinking my coffee and saying, yes, sir, boss, I learned that a lot of the billboards, a lot of the information, a lot of the commercials, before they're implemented in the construction stage, they reach out to people like me, people better than me, PhDs that have degrees in psychology to figure out how to get people to do shit they don't want to do. And I think that movie is one of the points of studying before they sign a check or sign a contract for a fucking song that says "Shake that booty, meat." And the kids love it. Go ahead, Robin.
Actually, housing was before me. Go ahead and go
Oh,
housing.
my bad, House. I didn't see you.
Good evening, everyone. Wani, professor in the room. Uh, does dominant society use disinformation to maintain world dominance? Absolutely. The eyes and the ears is the gateway. Example, TV. It's not there for entertainment. It's there for mind control, strictly mind control. And the TV programs, the news, everything. I'll give you an example. Fire Nagy touched on it when they was talking about how they use the actors, how they use a TV show, and you'll see a program like on Netflix or what's the other one? There's a few of them, Prime and stuff. Some of the ancient ones they go back on, but you always see them. They have the black woman fascinated with the white guy. They have the black guy fascinated with another man, another form of and then you have the basic commercials. Every time you see a commercial, you'll see basically a white man with a black woman or another ethnic group, but not the white woman. Rarely they showing them there. And it's like it's so much it's so much that you if you're not sharp enough, you won't see it. It just blow right past you. It'll blow right past you.
Well,
With that,
I'm gonna push back right quick on housing because it's insidious. You think it blows right past you, but it's in your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind remembers everything, and you get programmed. So you think, "What was that? Huh? What was that?" But over time, you just got programmed, so it didn't blow past you. But continue.
no, I'm talking about for the average one who's not on.
Wait,
Uh
you
oh.
broke up.
Oh, I thought my thing messed up.
No, that was me. That was my other phone. I'm talking about the guy that's the one I'm talking about. He's not paying attention. I'm talking about the individuals not paying attention. And then we got the music when we come to rap and we come to the other song. If you notice, right, it's no more love ballads that they are producing no more. It's all about two shots to the head or my baby daddy ain't nothing. And with that, I'm going to land my plane.
That's why we got boots on the ground.
Right, right. Come on, Robbie.
They can't do anything against that.
Yeah, this is a really good conversation. I've been enjoying, listening,
No, I land
taking
my
it
plane
in.
too.
Oh, yeah, and I wish I would have like taken more bullet points, but from what I remember earlier, when it came to Birth of a Nation, I had to ask myself and do a quick Google search because I like to look at things linearly. I said, when did the Civil War end? Like 1865. Reconstruction ended, I want to say probably like 1877 or something like that. So you have to ask yourself, why would they wait that many years to like 1915? What was going on? You had places like Tulsa, you had black people being prosperous, even though they tried to sabotage us after Reconstruction. There was remnant from Reconstruction of us sprouting fruit, right? And us, doing better, probably performing better than some of them. So that propaganda like that, I think, it's by no coincidence that they had to sit here and try to like give them magical thinking. They didn't want to use the Jesus angle, but they wanted to say, hey, these were the good old glory days. And again, it was white victimhood all over again. If you want to have domestic terror in America, promote white victimhood. Oh my God, the Juby Jews did it. Oh my God, the Negroes, it's this Negro over here that's my problem. When in reality, it's like They live in predominantly white states, predominantly white cities. Definitely there was segregation during that time. So a black boogeyman wouldn't even dream of like riding a horse through their neighborhood. I'm still like that now. Like if I drive through the I-10, there's certain places I don't even stop for gas. I'd be like, fuck it. I only got 30 miles left. Let me get through Mississippi. I don't even trust, especially if it's super late. So I'm saying all that to say, and you compare it to like these manifestos that's been written, and to the brother's point, that has always been the template because what Birth of a Nation did was paint the victimizer as the victim. And that's why they'll sit here and have these leaps of logic and talk about George Floyd and all this. And it's like, look, dummy, look at the 1790 census. If you want to know where the genesis of all of this, predates and starts, is right there with your Immigration Act. You considered us property. People could come over here, were encouraged to have slaves, were encouraged to get free land, and all they had to do was be a white Christian of good standing, whatever that means. That means they graduated from the University of I'm white and I say so. And now we deal with people who basically feel like suckers in Vegas. That guess what? You locked us out of the middle class during Reconstruction, and now the same elites that you want to cry about in 2025 still can gaslight you, and you can be like, oh my God, Deion Sanders is my problem. Oh my God, Barack Obama is a long-legged Mac Daddy. Oh my God, Negroes want reparations. And it's like you've been giving every leverage and competitive advantage, at least on paper, to any white person on this continent. And you expect us to want a trauma bond with you about something that um to the professor's point, I remember there was something you were quoting in a book where they basically can paint white people as victims. Like, in other words, it gives victimology to people. Professor, can you help me out? You were quoting the book. I forgot the brother's name, where he was saying like it was like consent, that they basically brainwash people subtly to automatically like align themselves with white victims over black victims. Like we have to go through extra litmus tests. Can you expand on that, brother professor?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. This shit. Well, we about to get deep. Get your pen and paper out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's compare first and foremost. Let's look at our brother David Banner. David Banner gave up the motherfucking game. David Banner is a genius, and he was getting a master's degree at one of the top 10 schools, University of Maryland, and but he was talented, and he would get on that little bus to go to New York and rap for a year or so. He called them the suits, but the people who control the music industry who look absolutely motherfucking nothing like us, some of which got Esquire behind their name. And he said he rapped for him, and they just loved him. And he said one day, a white lawyer, a suit, took him to the side and said, "Man, we fucking love you. I want to sign you so bad, but I'm under directives. I was told not to sign any black artists that with positive lyrics." So he, in essence, gave David a hint to go write some filthy filth bag shit, and he's gonna sign it. David Banner said he went from sleeping in a van to a millionaire in a night. I think the song he wrote was like a pimp. But let's juxtapose right quick. Let's do a little analysis, shall we? Let's look at Sexy Red's lyrics out the song I was just playing. Sex, uh,
What?
hold
I'm,
on, hold on. You're out of control. You're out of control. We got decorum here.
What happened?
Um, somebody just came up here yelling and stuff. I don't know. He's just feeling the spirit, I guess. But feeling something, feeling the meth or the Jim Beam or something. I guess they call alcohol spirits, but I digress. According to our sister, our dear scholar, Sexy Red, she says, quote, "My mama got the kids. I'm getting out this house. All in the club, shaking ass, showing out. Big bras popping. Bitch, I'm show stopping." Got it? Now let's juxtapose that with the white version of Sexy Red. You guessed it, ladies and gentlemen. We call her Taylor Swift. According to Taylor Swift, she says, "You come away with great little story of mess of a dreamer with nerve to adore you. That's cold as you." Let's move on to another song by Taylor Swift. Taylor
Dr.
Swift.
Swift. Let's talk about.
Hold on.
What is it?
Control
Oh my
yourself.
goodness, what is
Control yourself.
happening?
We're being effective, so they coming in here high on meth, trying to disrupt it. You are
Do you
you
know who
Albert.
that is? Is it
You
somebody still on stage?
Yeah, it's he there, but if he come up one more time, you come up one more time. I want to hear your high babble, but if you
Let
I
me
come off
do
guess.
the,
too.
Is it World Goyam?
there you go.
I
If he
don't know
come,
what he's saying.
if he come up one more time, I'm gonna drop him down. But I want to hear, I want to gauge how high he is, so I'm gonna get him, let him talk. But if we go to the next song by Taylor Swift, she says this song's called "Invisible." According to Taylor Swift, she says, "But
Shit. We're going to talk about it right now.
oh boy,
Okie dokie.
I
How
warned
long?
you. I
This
warned your
type of
dumb
snot
ass.
monster.
Who is this guy? Who
I
is
don't
he?
know.
Don't know.
I can't make
He's just
heads
a
or
white supremacist
tails.
troll that wants to probably trauma bond about Jews because Goyim is that word that they try to use about, anybody who's not
Oh,
with the Talmud
Oh,
and all that. Like he needs to go
right.
I,
get
but
on a
I,
rocket with
but I,
Elon.
I love it because what he just told me is this stage is effective right now. He's trying to play defense or something. I don't care. But anyway, according to Taylor Swift and Invisible, she says, "Quote: But you can't see me wanting you the way I want her, but you are everything to me." And if you juxtapose those two, the clothing that they wear on the award shows that every little girl is watching, a message is being sent. A weapon has been deployed. What do they say in the army, Robbie Blue? Isn't it fire for effect? What you just learned is if you look like Sexy Red, big bras popping, bitch, I'm show stopping. But if you look like Taylor Swift, you are everything to me. you know and our little kids have been attacked with image. This is who you are and this is who she is, when actually, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the story of history, the roles are reversed. We were never Sexy Red until immigrants came and turned out our culture. But the good news is we're reclaiming our culture with the line dancing and the reclamation of country music. So if there is hope. Now I was gonna let that jerk speak, but he dropped himself down. Um, let's see. No taxation. What's on your mind?
Wait a minute. Excuse me. How you doing,
I'm doing well.
Professor?
What's going on?
Well, I guess a lot, huh? I
Yep.
guess a lot is going on. But who was speaking? I don't know if it was housing.
It was a
Said something and it triggered my memory. Hello to everybody in the room, class, friends, all y'all. Um, I think housing triggered a memory for me. You know how people, and it goes really right in with what you were talking about, Professor, how people say, tell lie vision, TELIE, and they say it tells lies. You touched on it, but I think, and you're hinting at it, but I think you need to get straight to it. Um, People should be paying attention to the TELE, and separate it from the vision because those are two separate things. And TELE, as we know, Professor, has to do with the mind and what they import to the mind. And you touched on it, and you're right. And I would love to read your paper to Congress. I really would, and I want to send you a paper that I co-wrote. But uh, that's very important because you're waking it up, so we might as well wake it all the way up. You understand what I'm saying? These people plan well in advance, and
years in advance.
generations, generations. People don't even know it. They study us, and we got some new people studying us now. You touched on that too. What did you say they were, Professor? Who are these new ones? Tech something? The tech bros?
Oh yeah. Oh that now. Oh, that's the danger. That I'm not a fearful type of dude, but we gonna have to address AI. But
Yeah, I've been listening to James Campbell today. I now look when the white folks tell you that the white folks is doing something, don't need to go in that direction. You might want to listen to them white folks. You understand what I'm saying? Man, it's here. They showed a picture of some. I don't know if it was AI or not. It looked like a. it not a horse, but a dog. Y'all seen it running around on the internet, and you can ride it and get on it. And then some guy in real life was flying a car in the sky. You know, some kind of car is too loud for me, so I would never have one. But anyway, that's his business. But talk about the TELE part and how it takes a generation to put that into our minds, and that to me hits children first before the music because the television is always on, even when they're infants, and not necessarily music. You get what I'm saying, Professor? I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, man. There's a neurosurgeon named Jack Cruz. Look his ass up and go to bed listening to him. He talks about the color of the screens, and but I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. But yeah, they're being attacked on so many levels. The system's getting kind of desperate because they've thrown everything at us, and we're still standing, still I rise. But what they're doing now, which really has got me, because believe it or not, I'm kind of shy and I kind of mind my business. But what's got me active in this shit is they're attacking our kids. And they're attacking our kids in such a sophisticated way that even our educated parents don't see it. They know about music, but they don't see the other things. Well, I'm gonna have a space on it because it's too deep. It's
Yeah,
too.
look, SpongeBob. Y'all don't even understand what SpongeBob did to the baby's brains. Even that, man, it's that deep, like that deep. And the flashes in these children's eyes. Man, let me tell you something. Don't put your children in front of no television or no kind of screen when they little. Don't do it. You finna change the schema of your baby's brain to theirs, what they want. Don't
Oh
do it.
yeah, it's done with. I'm not a neurosurgeon, but Jack Cruz is, and according to Doctor Jack Cruz, MD, well, actually DMD, MD, he said that the light is a. They discovered that there was this shit so fucking deep, y'all. Wow, I don't even know where to start. Like the light. All right. Let's do this. When the Irish came over as immigrants, they were pitted against foundational Black Americans by the system allowing them to be cops. So they were the legal arm of white supremacy. But as above, so below. You need a legal and an illegal arm to enforcement. So then the Italians were allowed to come over as the illegal arm of white supremacy. Yes, they were complicit with the government at the time. And the Italians not only ran prostitution and drug rings, the Italians are responsible for the crack in the black neighborhood. We just published a book on that. We'll talk more about that later. But the Italians also were allowed to have the casinos in Las Vegas. You understand me? Y'all know what the casinos were? The casinos were a goddamn laboratory sponsored by, I'm not going to say the university because I don't want to be in court, but a very famous, damn near Ivy League university, department of psychology, department of neuroscience. They were trying to figure out how you could use television screens and moreover light to control you. So blue light, according to Dr. Jack Cruz, is not healthy. It does something to your neurotransmitters. Y'all have to listen to Jack. He talks about it ad nauseum. But basically you get addicted. There are frames of light, frequencies of light that are addictive, like just like fucking cigarettes or crack. And blue light hits you like you think about it. I'm on a cell phone right now. I walk around fucking jogging with a cell phone in my hand. Like we're addicted to the cell phones, according to Dr. Jack Cruz. Well, with that being said, that technology was discovered at the casinos. I'll talk more about that later on. But uh what's a guy named Steve Jobs? So Steve Jobs discovered this. You know, the Apple guy, when he launched the iPad, he figured out, he's like, oh shit, he knew what I'm telling y'all. And Steve Jobs, I guess that was a bridge too far for Steve Jobs. I hear very corrupt things about him, but when you involve kids, I guess Steve had some kids. Steve, without telling anybody, without even putting it in a manual, put a thing on the iPads that detected a child. And if a child picks up the iPad, it immediately shut off the blue light frequency to protect children. And Steve Jobs came down with a very rare form of cancer. Jack Cruz allegedly makes the the infers that that death was not an accident. There, the inference is Steve Jobs allegedly was taken out for doing that. So this shit, we're dealing with a greater evil that even I don't understand, which is why I'm on Spaces. I'm trying to get an understanding of what the fuck is going on.
Now, I wanted to say something just to remind people that they had these subliminal messages in movies before TV hit, and they would put them in and make people want to eat popcorn and get, hair cream and different things. And they were caught. It was considered to be unethical to do that to the public. So I find it strange that they continue to do it. Isn't that strange? They made a big stink about it back in the
Right.
day, and but they continue to do it. They know that the colors orange and yellow make people hungry, so they put those colors in commercials, and of course they make some of the logos and things, those colors. They know everything that triggers everything. We are highly studied on the highest level to sell
Facts.
us things, and they know all the triggers. They know everything. They made a study of it. Again, here we go back to Sigmund Freud and his nephew, who was one of the biggest PR, public relations, or if you want to call it admin, marketers of all time. Here we are again with these people using psychological triggers, making you feel like you don't measure up. Oh, your wife's ring is only 1 carat. Oh, what a loser you are. And people have started to get hip to it and say, hey, why don't we put some money down on a house and not buy a $60,000 diamond ring? Um, but that's none of my business. Do what you want to do, buy what you want to buy. I'm just saying they use these triggers, they've used the keeping up with the Joneses, all of those things to trigger you into buying. They don't care about anything, just making you buy things. And it's been very successful. And when I was saying before, they use these subliminal messages, it was considered unethical, but yet today they are using all of these things that they said were unethical. So they just said, oh, that's unethical and didn't do anything about it. They just kept right on doing it.
Facts.
Professor Wani, I wanted to ask you guys, do you think some of these psychological studies stem from Project Paperclip and the Nazis? And also, when I think about Nazi propaganda, they were saying keep it really short and under like 20 seconds or whatever. And it just made me think about like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. If you notice, like very short messaging in media is almost more effective than, long 2-hour videos. What do
Right.
you guys think?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Our sister Wani brought to my fucking attention the other day. Like that shit, Wani, you blew my goddamn mind when you showed me that the Germans, Germanics created every like drug, chemical, cocaine, man, cocaine. What's the rest of them? Like,
Isolated or synthesized, like they isolated the ingredient in the coca leaves. They synthesized other drugs and they developed other drugs. So, three different processes that they use. But I just find it odd that they're associated with all those very, very addictive drugs.
yeah, they're associated with all forms of attack. Project Paperclip, Robbie, was the deal with the devil because the Germans, the Nazis, scientists were this shit gets so fucking deep. This could be a TV show. Like the Germans basically lost World War I real bad. And as history, documented history shows that German leadership turned to fucking the occult. No shit. As I've said several times before, Adolf Hitler wanted to become an artist. He wanted to go to University of Vienna School of Art, which is prestigious, and he got denied twice. And instead of going home in shame, he became a male prostitute. He was like literally he was selling something. I don't know if he was giving.
Boontang,
I don't know if he was giving or receiving.
So you saying
tail.
he was sponsored by Baby Oil?
Uh,
Yes.
I brothers, I'm not. I don't want to lie on Adolf Hitler. I don't know if he was giving or receiving, but he was a prostitute. But while he was a prostitute, he got enveloped into Novo Ordo Seclorum, the occult. No, I'm sorry, no, Novo Order, no, Novo Order Templi. That stands for New Order of Templars. Think about what the fuck I just said and how old that goes. Well, anyway, they start having seances where they was said that they got their technology from people from other worlds. What the fuck does that mean? Well, what back to what Robbie was saying, they learned a whole bunch of what lawyers would call fruits of a poisonous tree, information from dark places, from seances and witchcraft and stuff we don't really understand. And when the Germans lost, and yeah, the Russians helped beat the Germans. Without the Russians, we would be speaking German right now. But when Germans lost the war, the United States government, through Project Paperclip, made deals with those scientists and said, "Come over here and teach you everything we know, teach you everything that you know, and we won't hang you." My home state is notorious with that. We had Werner von Braun, which was a creepy ass German scientist. Werner created NASA. Enough said. Some people say that stands for not a space agency, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Ideologies came from Germany, Freud, all this weird psychology, all these medications, all this shit that's fucking up the world came from them.
But let's
A
not
lot of
forget MK Ultra, which
yep,
has a lot of different programs to jack people up.
Well, Professor, you know the connection between Elon and von Braun.
I do not.
Von Braun wrote a book about going to Mars, and there was some fictional people they were supposed to meet called the Elon, and Elon would get bedtime stories from his grandpa and his papa while he was in South Africa. Papa, Papa, can you read me the story again about the indigenous people on Mars? And they were called the Elon. So the fact that he wants to send little rocket ships, but what's his name? Terrence Howard, man, made me choke on my pistachio
That
peanuts last
motherfucker
night.
is a genius.
Listen, he was talking about, he said, listen, brother, if Elon tries to send people over to Mars, he's like the atmospheric pressure will turn them into pancakes. I said, nigga, shit, we don't even like swimming with white folks. Y'all want to have segregation? Have at it. Y'all take y'all white ass over to Mars if you want to. Y'all already got crushed in a dollar store submersible thinking y'all a genius. Shut up, nigger. We're going to the Titanic and you can't tell me nothing. All right, I'm trying to fix the planet that Jesus created for me. I want some mangoes. I want to eat clean water, fresh air, no taxes. Y'all go ahead and start your white ethno state. Go on one of Elon's ketamine rockets and get crushed. But let us hear the audio because I want to put it as my ringtone. Ah! I'm like, is that
That's
hell?
cold
No,
blooded.
mama, that's not hell. That's some smart
That's
ass
ice wall.
crushes. They will watch that. Y'all can stream Birth of a Nation and watch it in the movie theater on that goddamn rocket. I just want to hear y'all scream, ah, no, ah! And Elon will be like, oh my goodness. I'll land my plane.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of those scientists back to psychological warfare, which we're kind of talk about, were sent, according to Chris Hedges, to Columbia University in New York, the Ivy League. Columbia has Teachers College, one of the greatest, most popular schools of education. It kind of wags the dog and sets the standard for education. So all this stuff all those fingers go back to Germanics. I wanted to point out another lyric contrast between the white world and the black world. With the black world, we're gonna go back to Sexy Red. According to our dear scholar Sexy Red, she says, "quote All in the club looking like a snack. Baby daddy's cock blocking. What do you know about that? Stop. Let's go to the white side of the railroad tracks to see what Taylor Swift says about men. So, in just to recap, Sexy Red says about men, black men. She says, "Baby daddy cock blocking." What does Taylor Swift say about men? Taylor Swift says, quote, "But you're just so cool. Rub your hands through your hair while absent-mindedly making me want you."
Okay, that's really corny. This
Well, you
this
know what it
girl is
is. You
like
know what it is,
Wonder
Professor.
Bread.
Very corny.
This would it boiled down to. Black folks, even in degeneracy, we don't beat around the bush. We let you know what it is. They like the female version of Too Short. Taylor Swift stuff sounds like your status on Facebook. It's complicated. That's a Me Too case waiting to happen. It's like, I don't need you to give me all these clues, these blues clues. Like, no, you shit. I need to know, ma'am. It's kind of like one of them slaves. Ma'ams, do you want it? I needs to know if you wants it. I'll say on a side note, when you're reading out those lyrics very articulately, man, that could be a segment within itself. Like if you had your own show, we need to go back to lyrics from the 90s. And it's like, if the cops pull me over, sir, do you realize you were driving a 55 and a 45? And I'd be like, I don't love these hoes. I'm about the dough, or just something. Just I'll find me an old, like, because white folks like to overanalyze stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be like, Mecca lecca high, Mecca hiney ho.
Oh
What?
man,
Grok,
that's cold
grok.
blooded.
What does that mean? You know what I mean? Just send them on a wild goose chase.
That's
Look, why are
hilarious.
we comparing Taylor Swift? That is extraordinarily corny. I mean, no, 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 no,
I
no.
agree.
Let's compare
Wani,
some.
I, I,
Let's
I,
compare Marilyn Manson to Sexy Red or Madonna. Let's see what happens.
oh, okay. We will. That's a good, give me a moment to do that scholarship. But I was just what I was trying to do is illustrate how those two contemporaries are the message, the different message that I'm making an assumption. According to David Banner, I'm making the assumption, which I think is correct, that the funding source for the music industry is coming from the same place. So the suits are funding Sexy Red to say one thing, and they're also funding, or should I say, heavily funding Taylor Swift to say another. And that's programming to our little girls. They're getting different programming. They're learning who they are. Why? Because by design, they mama's not home because mama working two and three jobs to make sure baby girl got clothes and food. It's programming.
Professor, can I make a request before you close the space?
Yes, sir.
I would love to hear you read the lyrics of Sarah McLachlan in The Arms of an Angel.
Oh Lord.
Because if that ain't some ratchet shit, I don't know what is. That's a white woman making an excuse for sleeping with her side dude. That's really all it is. In the arms of the angel. Yeah, in a hotel room.
Why do they use that song for some type of children's foundation then?
It's psychological warfare. They're telling you the likeness of what a European woman is supposed to be in America. This is European white woman. This is you. You're innocent. Look at the words in Taylor Swift. She said absent-mindedly. What does that really mean? That means I didn't mean any harm, or I didn't even know what I was doing. I was rubbing my hands through your hair, and something just happened. Juxtapose that with Sexy Red. She talking about some mama got the kids. I'm getting out this house. All in the club, showing ass, showing out. Big bras popping. Bitch, I'm show stopping. Like it's intentional. That's intent. Whereas Taylor
Hey,
is
What about
hey,
Lady
Pizzo,
Professor,
Gaga?
let
Pizzo,
me find out.
Pizzo. Hey, hey,
Taylor.
hey, look
Professor,
though.
let me
Taylor didn't
find
know what
out.
she was
Let me
doing.
find out, Professor.
So, hey, can I speak?
Hold on. We don't like yell around on this space.
Can
Um.
I yell into space too? What about Lady Gaga?
I was not trying to yell. Hey, Wanda, I don't like
I'm
to yell.
yelling.
Hold on. It
Okay,
got kind of
Wanda,
Ah,
I
Lady
love you, Wanda.
Gaga.
it just got kind of disrupted. Hold on. Let's see who's next, brother. That's all I'm saying. It might be you, but I don't think so. I think Mark Anthony's been up here. We're gonna go to Mark Anthony and sec him, and then we'll go to Pat. Go ahead, Mark. Mark Anthony.
How you doing, Professor Allen?
Hey man, what's up?
I'm good. I'm good. Oh yeah, I want to congratulate you on your introduction to being on Hidden Colors. So,
Oh, appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
yeah.
This gonna be a
But
big one.
oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But just to answer the question to the question of the room, does the dominant society use disinformation to maintain the world, uh, maintain world dominance? That's obviously yes. That's a that's the obvious answer. But well, I want to remind people too, because I know Tariq always reminds us every year around this time that we're in April now, and this is when these suspected white supremacists like to turn it up a notch.
Man, I talking about Tyreek
Yeah.
Nasheed, man, bro. Shut your body,
Hey, hold on, man. You about to get kicked off my
man.
stage.
That shit disgusting.
Just kick him
Get
out.
out,
Just
dude.
just kick him out. Yeah, because this is
Yeah,
disrespectful.
yeah. He done had him something to drink, bro. You're in the wrong space. You need to find like the AA space and introduce yourself. Hello, my name is Pat. Anyway, come on with it. What were you saying, bro?
Oh yeah. I was saying, Tyree, he like, he reminds us on a yearly basis around this time, we're in the month of April and we have to be extra vigilant because these, suspected white supremacists like to turn it up a notch. And plus, the 19th of this month will be the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. So,
That's right.
Wow.
so we have to be extra vigilant,
What
because you never know what these folks is planning this month.
what Mark is saying is real deep. Earlier we were talking about these vectors of attack coming from Nazi Germany. So this shit ain't no poo put shit. We looking at something spiritual, ladies and gentlemen. I want y'all to know that.
Professor,
Go ahead.
did you know that Hitler's birthday and Easter fall on the same day,
I did not know that.
April the
Unfortunately, this is my
20th?
birthday month too.
Yeah,
Fortunate
yeah,
and
but
unfortunate.
what I was saying is what Mark is kind of alluding to is these people are into something that isn't so innocent. These folks are into circles of occultism, and occultism deals with rituals. Yeah, that. I'm not a biblical scholar, but what does it say, Robbie? We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with powers and principalities, evil in high places.
Yeah, principality in high places.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
That's what we dealing with. We thinking it's just innocent. This shit, we being attacked on the highest level. All right, let's see who's next. Sekim, I saw you down there. You hadn't had a chance to speak yet.
Hey, let me start off by saying salute to the room, salute to the host. Just throwing out there, if anybody, if you hadn't got the professor's book or One book, get it because I bought both and they are phenomenal. So I want to give y'all props on that.
Oh, appreciate it. If you, I'm gonna put in Jumbotron, Wani, and Nikki's Cash App. If y'all want a copy of my last book, put $25 on Our Story Publications, which will be in the Cash App in a moment, and make sure you put your full address and zip code, and I'll send it out to you shortly. A couple of you bought a book last week and didn't have an address, so check if you don't receive a book in the mail this week. Check your Cash App and make sure you you can put your address in there. Thank you, Sekim. I also want to say that Wani and I have a book coming out that talks about lineage. I will make announcements on when it will release. Go ahead, Sekim.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say was just piggybacking on some of the things that's already been said. Um, a lot of this stuff, as y'all already been pointing out, is definitely historical. Like for instance, to tie it all in, if you go all the way back to the Russian Japanese War. A lot of people don't know that that war that took place was for the purposes of the Japanese earning their white card. And because the Russians lost that war, that's why they are in a state of, they've been in a state of humiliation ever since then. That's why they always, even though they're white, they've been treated indifferently by everybody else. And that was the premise behind that. And that was the reason at the beginning of the 20th century that the Japanese was being labeled as white. Now the tile let in going forth when the Germans lost, of course, and then World War II took place. A lot of people don't know that the small has controlled everything in Germany. Germany only didn't produce their own food. They had to import most of their food during that time. The people that controlled the food supply was the small hats. And a lot of people think when they had them wearing the stars on their sleeves or on their buildings, they thought they were just strictly because of religion. No, they made them do that because they were going against them for, doing the food. That's what the initiation of all that was. Well, when those people um, went down the line and tried to use Germany as an experiment for what they wanted to do later on in terms of dealing with the drugs and all the sex craziness and all this, Hitler and others seen and it started associating what took place in Russia later on. A lot of people don't realize that the Bolsheviks were small hats. They just changed their names. And that's why when they talked about communism, they also talked about communism in the same context as the religion.
Wow, that
So,
that makes sense. I never knew that. I didn't put those two together. But you're right. Karl Marx, his dad was in that religion. That's interesting. It all goes back to Germanics. Wow.
right, right. So when all that starts going down, The small hats made the deal with the British. That's when that's how they got that state over there that's causing all the problems today. Well, when all that stew was being mixed up, and because of the issues they was having with the Russians, a lot of people don't know, and there's a couple of books I had to post the books, but they were drug usage is a war tactic. A lot of people don't know that. It's a
Absolutely.
tactic. It's a tactic that's used to destroy your nation's military age men and women to keep them from being able to fight. And so we used it. The British used it. Of course, they got rich. With the what they did with the opium wars and all that. Well, tying all this stuff in till today, when the Germans, of course, they came here, and then y'all pretty much talked about everything they was doing once they came to America and all the stuff that they was doing. But when the turn of the beginning of the 1950s, 1960s, they were following that blueprint from the birth of a nation. But what happened was that we revolted in a way that they didn't expect. So they had to come up with a new blueprint. Now the new blueprint that they're going by now is the Turner Diaries. William Pierce wrote the Turner Diaries, but he uses the pen name of Andrew McDonald. And when you read the Turner Diaries, you'll start seeing the. I put it to you like this: is a reason why so many of them trying to accuse Tariq and everybody else of being paid by the small hats. When you read that book, it goes straight down the line with everything that you're seeing going on now, and that's the reason why they had to change it. One thing about them that makes them different from us is that when you really sit back and pay attention to them, they don't have a will. That's why you can tell. That's why one of them can tell them something that's a blatant lie, and they'll run with it. We don't do that. We question everything. They don't do that. They don't think like that. They act. If you want to compare them to something, you can compare them to ants. That those that's at the worker bees or whatnot, anything that the queen and anybody in her court says, they'll follow, and that's how they operate. And it's not so much they're on the code; it's just how they are programmed. So even if it's a lie, as long as the lie comes from their own, it's acceptable. And that's where the conflict, that's why they have to spend so much money against us and trying to program us because we don't think that way. In fact, we think so independent to our detriment in some cases. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yes, sir.
that's how
Let me
this
get
stuff is
let me
connected.
get deep with you on centralized control. You gave me an opportunity to talk about that, and I appreciate it. Dr. Jack Cruz, and I want all y'all to look up Dr. Jack Cruz, neurosurgeon. This motherfucker bad. He was a dentist. Said, I don't want to be a dentist. Became a neurosurgeon. Just a bad motherfucker who got ostracized by the medical association. He had to move to El Salvador. Jack said that. He said centralized control is dangerous. He said nature is not centralized. Our body is not really centralized with respect to control. Some people argue that the heart has memory. There's memory in your heart, memory in your brain. Your skin cells have memory. Memory is spread the way God or nature, the Egyptians called Netaru. They control is shared in a network. It's more than one place of control. But European hierarchical structure, if you look at the Jumbotron and look at that pyramid, it's centralized. Everything's coming from one place, which scares me away from AI. I get in trouble a lot because in my profession because I make my students, my undergrads and otherwise, write papers. I give them paper. I say write a paper, and the system even in Tennessee, New York, and now in Georgia. Just no, 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 Professor A. We need our kids to be writing stuff electronically. I don't want that, you know, because it's centralized. But go ahead and land your plane, and we're gonna go to seven and fire Nagy.
Oh, I just wanted to I'll end with that, Professor. You tied it in. And again, I appreciate you and everybody else on the app, and be one.
Right on. Sakim mentioned Wani. Wani's book is in the title now. The her if you want to purchase it. All right, go ahead, fire Nagy, and then seven. Or did I go backwards? Was it seven before Fire Nagy? I forgot.
I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Fire Nagy.
I want to ask the room this real fast. how many centers of influence do you think there are that are influence us through information? And who do you think is winning? And what do you think the end game is? And just to kind of throw that up to the room, how many centers of influence, how many things in our society, or do you just think that it's just the dominant society is one thing, or do you think the dominant society is many things? Um, and if it is many things, how many of them would you say there are, and who's winning this information, disinformation, conflict? I
Wow, I'm
yield the
gonna put
floor.
some in the jumbotron in a moment when I find it, but I think it's coming from one place. It's just made to look like it's coming from a lot of different places. Dr. Welsing had an excellent graph I'm gonna put in the jumbotron to kind of show y'all. But next up was Seventh Ward. Go ahead, Ward.
Oh, yeah. Someone had mentioned earlier about long term planning these white supremacists do. And yes, they will plan long term. I'll give you an example. Right now, the Navy is building a submarine, a ballistic missile submarine called a new class called Columbia class, and the first ship is expected to be commissioned in 2028, and they plan to have that ship around in commission for 50 years. So that ship possibly could be that class of ship can be around in the 2080s. That's I'll probably okay. I probably won't be alive in the 2080s, but who's going to be the enemy in 2080? Who who is not going to be the Russians? Demographically speaking, the Russians are done after this war. It's not going to be the Chinese. Demographically speaking, the Chinese are already done. I've heard stories that the Chinese have probably lost like hundreds of millions of people to COVID. There's a video in my timeline where they talk about it. So these people are planning long term. I wonder who whom do they see as the enemy? Could it be we? Who knows? I'll let y'all answer that one. With that, I yield the mic.
Okay, y'all appreciate it. I paused, I was putting in some in the Jumbotron. I'm putting it in there now. This graph that I'm putting in the Jumbotron comes from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and it's a graph of control. Because somebody mentioned, I think Fire Nagy begged the question, who's in control? Look at that graph. It's so beautiful. It's an inverted cone. It's inverted because on level 5 where we stand, you see them dots don't look like they're connected. You got, let me help you out: entertainment, education, labor, law, religion. I forget the other ones that Neely Fuller said, but it's more. All those dots are you know
Finances in there too.
medicine, whatever. They're all there, and they look like they have nothing to do with each other. But when you go down the rabbit hole and you get to level 1, it's one single dot somewhere calling the shots. I don't know where it's coming from, which is why I'm a geek for history and I stay on spaces because I learn more than I teach, believe it or not. But what I have learned from studying the Nazis, like Robbie said, is it looks like that central point comes from, here we go, people. Y'all ready for this? Seances and occult organizations. So, could that single dot be an entity that we may or may not have heard of?
Yes.
Come on, Wani. Let's do it.
Well, I mean, all
Well,
I can
I don't see
say,
that in the jumbo. I don't see it in the jumbotron. It's not up there.
which one, the cone?
It's in the
The
purple
one.
pill.
Oh, I didn't put it.
Oh, okay.
Let me put it in
I
Jumbotron.
see it, but sometimes it's a delayed reaction. I will say that these people are telling us what they're doing. It's not a secret. They're literally saying, we did a seance, we got help from other worlds. I mean, I don't know how plainly they can say it. We didn't do this on our own. We were in uh, these occult societies summoning demons. Um, And you can tell what they're doing in this even if they don't admit it. We know from the other writers what they do in these societies. People like Aleister Crowley, they summon demons or entities, or I don't know what they are, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know. Some people called them angels, some people called them devils, some people called them interdimensional beings, others say entity, others say alien. I don't know what they are, but they are summoning them and they're getting little, making deals with them and getting little bumps here and there. But I will tell you, one thing that I've noticed of looking at all of these people that have summoned these entities, it always ends badly. They always get kicked to the curb, and the entity laughs into eternity every time. They say, I saw an angel, Joan of Arc. She fought in a lot of wars, skirmishes, and battles, and she ended up getting burned on the stake. Where was the angel?
Well, you know what you guys are making me think? Because think about it, Professor. What do they call one branch of this government, at least under the executive branch? Central intelligence. There we go with centralized thinking. I think of it more like an octopus. An octopus has one brain, but it has lots of tentacles, and those tentacles collect information. So when you talk about entities, you know how in the church they'll say the body of Christ. Well, you have the body
Right.
of the Antichrist. You got that. You got that. That evil spiritual energy, right? That negative faith, and that's why they end up worshiping themselves. They're like their father, the devil. They're very narcissistic. They want everybody to bow down and worship them, but in the end, there's no honor amongst thieves, and they cut a bad deal. And that's why we're people based. We base things off energy and frequency. So we do things in decency and order, but we appreciate and celebrate individuality. So that's why even when you do music or you sing in a choir, everybody stays in their lane, everybody does their point, and then you resonate and make beautiful music. They have linear thinking, kind of like brother Terrence Howard was having. So that's why for them, even when it comes to colonization, this is for my Star Wars nerds. Y'all remember that those robotic transhumans called the Borg? What did they do? They assimilated everybody into a
That
centralized
no, honey, that's
hive
Star
mind.
Trek. That's Star
Yeah,
Trek.
sorry,
The Borg,
Star Trek.
the
There we go.
Borg is
Your
Star
Borg.
Trek. Yeah.
There we go. That's kind of like what when you guys are saying it, it makes me think about possession because that's what think about it. What Starlink God just put in my spirit. That's what they're trying to do. That's the whole point of transhumanism is to make everyone have a hive mind. And I'll land my plane.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very powerful. Centralized organization, and that's where education is being pushed. That's where medicine. Dr. Jack Cruz talks about medicine. He says you're all gonna have to go to one source to get healed. It's just deep.
Ooh wee.
It's deep.
Why did Robbie have to bring up the hive mind?
Yep.
That shit is dope to study, to talk about. I love that. I just want to talk about that some more, y'all. We're gonna have to do a space on it.
What?
And the sad part
Thank you for
is,
correcting him because you can't get
no,
stuck.
go ahead, fire.
You cannot mix up your sci-fi genres. You cannot do that. Some of us are true sci-fi nerds and we love
You
it.
pissed him off, Robbie. I knew what you meant though.
Well, the
Who?
sad
Go ahead.
part about it is that we already have a lot of people with hive minds from the education that pushes indoctrination and gets angry when you push back on the teacher with facts. So we already have that. And they want to put another layer. It's like when we were talking about the Germanic oppression. How many times are you going to colonize us? Like you already have us colonized with the monarchy, but you need to do it with the Aryans, okay? How many times are you going to do it? How many layers do you need to put on? Now they need to do hive minds on us, and we're already have most of the people have a hive mind as it is. You see, they're not independent thinkers.
Wani,
Oh yeah, that's what AI is trying to do to us. That's what AI is trying to do to us.
You beat me
We
to it,
keep putting
Nikki.
the same information in. Yeah, they don't want us to think.
I was gonna
You're the one who taught me that,
I was
Professor.
gonna, I was gonna ask Wani, to your point. See, that means white supremacy is a hive mind. And remember, white is just not a social construct, it's an attitude. So it makes sense. It's like the light and the
Woo!
dark side. Think about it. The Ku Klux Klan was a hive mind. MAGA to a degree is a hive mind. Being a white American, a real American, is a hive mind. Being the Spaniard conquistadors is a hive mind.
Woo!
Being a Roman citizen is a hive mind. The way they took Christianity and made the image of Christ white and brainwashed, and they were able to kill tribalism with magical thinking,
Facts.
teaching them that they were these magical wizards who could just do all of this stuff. It's a hive mind. And that's why when you talk to them, they make these leaps in logic to defend each other like some satanic algorithm. Oh my God, George Floyd, I know that Negro was on fentanyl. You know, Cal Rittenhouse is an innocent kid like Malcolm in the Middle. What are you talking about? It's like the hive mind works together. It's crazy, you
They
know?
got us fucked up too,
I was
all the
gonna
way up.
I was gonna say something about religion and the scams. This goes back to the Greco-Roman Empire, where they used to trick people into being the religions that they wanted. They would have mechanics go in and make like a lion that would cry, and people thought it was real because they didn't understand technology. And they also had a crane, and the Pope would be hoisted up on the crane, and they thought he was flying because again they weren't very familiar with um, those tools. They would use these things in the church, and of course somebody's what's now an Italian grandmother would say, oh no, I saw this with my own eyes, family. These people were flying. This lion was crying, and they believed it to the core, and they spread that to their families the way that it is today. They really believe that.
Now the dangerous thing about
You know what you sound like,
go
Ronnie?
ahead, White.
You sound like some of them white women that call up in Tariq spaces and they be having these Marvel origin stories. He'll be like, "So what do you think about reparations?" Well, what you have to understand is I saw a flying monkey, and when I was 5, I had a brain tumor, and my dad, you know, he had a drug problem, and I have one foot longer than the other one, and I'm a victim too, and you just don't oh my God, I'm not a bad person. Like they'll start coming up with these diseases we can't even pronounce and shit. I'm like, you're supposed to be superior, but you got all these genetic disorders. I'm like, bitch, I gotta Google before I fuck you. Jesus.
Well, the danger.
I'm like, is that shit contagious? I got lupus. I got
I
psoriasis.
got I
What?
got
What in
Memphis.
the herpes is this?
I the dangerous thing what
Okay.
y'all saying is I was talking to my ancient I teach one section of ancient world history, and we were looking back to Babylon, where I've tracked a lot of this evil came from Babylon, which history makes up a lot of fucking names for. They in college they say Mesopotamia, Assyrian, Babylonian is what I go with. But if you look at Babylonian society, the Babylonians, uh, their demise was technology. They created a Tower of Babel. Some of you who went to Sunday school remember that. Well, I did some deep digging in some rare books that I got access to years ago through the grace of God. And in the rare books, I noticed that the god they were worshiping in the tower was a god named Sin. Sin AI is its name. And a lot of you who went to Sunday school in the Christian faith remember the Mount Sinai. It's no such thing. Sorry to tell you that. It never existed. No such thing. It was misunderstood.
There is a Mount Sinai on the Sinai Peninsula.
But I'm talking about the biblical Mount Sinai. It was a mountain of sin AI, not Sinai. Sin AI, the mountain of the god Sin AI. And I put some fucking pieces together and scared the shit out of myself. I was like, the Babylonians used a technology that allowed them to communicate with the gods, right? And it just dawned on me from teaching. I used to teach computer science with the total force community. I was a captain officer. Long story short, but I know a little bit about programming, just a little bit. And the I was like tower, and I was like, oh shit, a computer. Like the main thing in a computer is called a tower, right? I was like, they made a tower that communicated with the god Sin AI, and what scared me is what they're trying to push right now is a new form of intelligence called AI, and I wondered, is that related to sin AI? Hell, we up here talking to sin AI right now.
Put it this way, all I pray is that all these neo Nazis mount up on a bunch of cyanide pills and swallow them.
I got some cyanide in my
And are we?
laboratory.
May I let what? Can we let? Are we letting anyone else up? There's one more person. Can we let this lady up, or should I?
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
we done letting
yeah.
people up?
I tried to let her up. She wouldn't come up. Let's let Kush up. I couldn't let her up. Maybe somebody needs to drop down. And I saw Twizzle. Twizzle had the same picture as somebody else. I thought it was somebody else that had been here.
I'll drop down real quick.
Okay, appreciate it, Robbie. Go ahead and let
Oh, yeah, it's just too many people on the stage, so it said error.
Kush. All right, we're gonna go with Kush, then Twizzle. Go ahead, Kush.
Good night, good morning, good evening to everybody in the room. Um Brother Robbie had me over here cracking up. All the Trekkies in the room, we lost it when he referenced Star Wars and
Oh,
board.
oh
And it's
my
like
God!
Nikki, thank you, because I was losing it over here. I was like, my God, today, no, that is Jean Luc Picard. But one thing that Robbie was saying that got me to thinking about when he was talking about religion and how I just thought about it. There was a point in time, ancient Kush, ancient Kemet. These were polytheistic societies where people worshipped many different gods. Everything was not um it had to be in a central location. As he said before, everything didn't have to be centralized. I can't think of any modern day polytheistic religions. Everything nowadays is centralized. You have to have one central god. So whatever you call your god, it's just one god now. It's You don't see polytheism. When you think about the Catholic Church and what that means, it's Catholicism. It is the universal church. It is just one church. Again, it goes back to trying to get everybody in, see my air quotes, in line in some type of way. And I forgot who it was on the panel that said we are not a hive-minded people. So there are going to be some people who don't follow, see my air quotes, the leaders or the losers or whoever. We think for ourselves. So I just, that got me to thinking about the fact that you do see a lot of a big push to really get everybody to think the same way, say the same things, dress the same way, eat the same foods. Like, there's really no see my air quotes, for lack of a better word, diversity. We're really getting away from that in a lot of ways, just worldwide. So that was one thing that I thought about. And I'll land for now because there's something else that I was thinking about, but I'll land for now.
Oh,
Hinduism is polytheistic.
oh yeah. We're gonna get to let's see, is Twizzle still up here? Go ahead, Twizzle.
Where's Twizzle? I
Hey,
don't see
what's
him.
up,
Yeah, I
everybody?
didn't
I
see him at
don't
first
Can you
see
hear
either.
either.
me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear you, but I don't see you. Oh well.
I'm right there. I got the profile picture of the young brother Camelo Anthony
Oh,
who's
sorry
fighting
about
for his
that.
Yeah.
case right now.
Thank you.
So I put his picture up there in support of him. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody. Shout out Professor Nikki and everybody in the room. You know what I mean? I see you, Black Receipt. Yeah, I came up here when y'all was talking about the high mentality, and that struck a bell with me because y'all know I'm up here by Tesla, and as y'all was saying, how he's trying to put those neural links in everybody's brain. One thing about up here, if you work for Tesla, you're going to do a 12-hour shift to 16, or you're going to do a 12 to 14-hour shift for 4 days out the week over here, because that's how he is. He's into productivity. And I told people once he get into that office, he's going to demand people work long hours. And once he got in there, he said that he was looking for people that's willing to work 60 hours a week. You know what I'm saying? That's 12-hour days, 5 days a week. You know what I mean? And that's what he demanded because he considered it high productivity. Whenever you deal with Elon Musk, he's going to look at the numbers and the math. So he's going to look at productivity and the math. So he felt like people could work this amount of hours and could get product done. And it's like eliminate your family time, eliminate your home time, and eliminate your personal time. That's why everybody that's working for him for Doge right now, they're working 20 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? Getting this stuff done. That's why they're trying to hurry up and do this because as the May 20th, Doge is done. He's out of there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they want. They want high productivity because more high productivity, they can get work done. And as y'all saying, that's why they want that high mentality. They want people to basically get rid of your pleasures, your personal life, your personal wants, your personal desires, everything, and just work, 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 like you fucking Rihanna. You know what I'm saying? And that's what those neural links thinks in. When they think they're gonna put that shit in your brain, thinking that you're gonna be able to control things, what they call it, what they call telepathy, you know what I mean? You can control it like that. Nah, you're going to be wrong. They're going to control you. And if you don't do what they want, they're going to send a signal to that neural link that's going to send a shock to your whole body that's going to make you do what they want. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they're going with Elon Musty. I mean, the musty funky dude, you know? So I just came up here and put my 2 cents on that. Shout out to the room. And hey,
What?
Sister Wani, Sister Wani, I seen your little fast ass on that video with Tariq with your silk press with your leg
Leave her alone.
being
Leave her
hella fast.
alone.
No, she was being fast.
She's
Sister
already
Wani was
feeling
being
uncomfortable.
fast, and she
Leave
gonna
her
get in trouble
alone.
right now.
Leave her
Yeah, her little
alone.
fast ass. You
No,
ain't
she's
grown.
not.
Hey, she may have been
Because she's
around the world,
already
but she not
shy.
grown.
Leave her alone.
Her
I
little
seen it
fast
too,
ass with
Nikki the
that leg
God. It
up
was
Now
there.
she
cute. I
about to
seen
run
Yeah,
it
off
too.
she was
stage.
being
I
hella
seen it
fast,
too.
thinking she grown, being
Oh,
fast with that leg up there. Yeah, I'm gonna get you, Sister Ronnie. But you were
Yeah.
cute. Hey, she
She,
was cute. She was hella cute with her fast ass. All right, y'all, I'll let my play.
all right. Just
but to piggyback off of Twizzle, I mean, this could be a possibility because you have to think about your health and what 12 hours a day does to you. Standing up, working in a factory, and then doing it 5 days a week. Normally, if you do 3 12s in
And
a
they only
row,
get one lunch. They get one
yeah,
lunch. They
they
don't
get
get no break.
they
crazy.
get yeah, probably
Yeah,
yeah. So
one
um,
hour lunch
pretty
and no break.
pretty soon they're going to have all these people. Are they about to be having people have stay at work 24 hours a day and have regeneration pods like the Borg?
That's
Are
what
people not
Doge
going to
is
be
doing.
allowed to go home?
That's
That's
where
what
we're
Yeah,
Doge
God,
headed,
is
they're gonna
Nikki.
doing.
have the
That's what
nanobots.
Doge is doing. That's what the Doge employees are doing. They live at that place. You know
I,
what I mean? They eat top ramen and all this. They live there and they sleep 4 hours and they have to work 20 hours a day. That's
I,
what Elon Musk got them people in Doge doing. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm on the front line of it. I see what they're trying to do to the kids. They're getting the kids' heads, and their heads are in these screens, and they're using AI. They're being programmed by AI. I see the future that's trying to evolve. But we're gonna get a couple more speakers. Just out of curiosity, I want to hear what World Gorium has to
Hey,
say.
do you need me to drop down?
No, you good for now, Twizzle. I want to hear
All
what
right.
World Gorium has to say. World Gorium, what you got to say? Going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna go to I'm gonna remove him
Professor, I
out.
had one question.
Go ahead, bro.
When Rob was talking about the the short mini videos that they do on TikTok, last for seconds. I want to know, does it affect people when it comes to like them like really reading what's going on in a post or something, or they just grab the headlines and run with it? Can I
Yeah,
get some
yeah,
They grab the
that's
feedback on that?
headlines.
yeah, that's psychological. That's psychological warfare. So
Oh,
if you want to know more about that, look up Carl Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, the German psychiatrist. He figured out that the best way to program people is by accessing their unconscious mind. The way your mind is set up, you have a masculine mind and a feminine mind. The masculine, yeah, and we do it all the time. Your mind protects you from things. So if you see something you don't want to see on TV, you say, "Oh God, I don't want to see that." You're blocking it out. Your feminine mind think of what women do. They take an idea, a woman takes a sperm and creates a whole new being out of it. They manifest. So your masculine mind protects your feminine mind, protects you from taking stuff in that you don't want to see. So that whole hit you real quick shit is warfare. It's hitting you with some ideologies or some type of
The
programming.
German Blitz. The
There you
Now,
German
now, hold
blitz,
Blitz.
yeah,
on now.
fast, real
Now,
quick.
Professor, is it a good thing or a
Could
bad
could
thing?
I respond to
Terrible.
him real quick?
Go ahead,
I
Robbie.
was all I was going to say real quick is just that they had studies that most people have a short attention span. Now you can
Right?
either encourage people to have a short attention span or encourage people to be intellectuals. And at one particular time, it seemed like post World War II, they were encouraging people to be intellectuals. But if you want people to have a hive mind, you want them to have a short attention span, and you want them to be more reactive.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, he's exactly right. That's a good point, Robbie. They've designed us to be programmable because if you make something long, you'll sit down and say, what is this about? And then you'll make a decision. But dude, man, we remember I told y'all I work um as an administrator with a unit, a college. I felt like the X-Men. We were a group of colleges trying to study COVID-19. They figured that out. That if you suggest somebody, I got to be careful what I say because I'm not sure if I'm under NDA for this part, but basically, if you suggest something real quick without giving people chance, like if I said, "Want to eat this candy?" Let's say I had some candy and it was laced with some chemical or something. If I said, "Wani, check this out. I got some candy for you, and it's real good. You know, it may taste like this, taste like that." I'm giving her chance right now to think. Well, shit, I probably don't want it. You know, she's thinking. But if I just say, "Hey, Wani, here you go, taste this," there's a probability that she's going to say, "Well, okay, well, I'll taste it," without thinking, right? That's the same way that these commercials and these, what Robbie was talking about, does. It hits you real quick and it accesses your unconscious mind. There was a show called Power, right? And I'm going to be codified with this because I don't want to, get in trouble. But it was a certain character on Power that was engaged in a certain type of activity. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Drew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Professor, you know what? You just broke down why I used to get phone numbers when I was younger. Because I
Yep.
realized just hand the chick your cell phone and be like, "Give me your number." You give a command. It's like real quick. You don't give her a chance to say no. Hey, blah blah
Right.
blah blah blah. Okay, give me your number. Oh, thanks. And she's like, "I have a boyfriend. I don't care. Give it to me. Bye." See, it
And
works.
she might say, "Oh man, why I gave him his number?" But she didn't. You accessed her unconscious mind right quick. And this shit's
Yeah,
evil
but
as
what if
fuck.
he don't call you after you did that? She'll be thinking like, "Dang, why didn't he call me?"
Yeah, that's
What's the
true.
description of that? That's passive aggressiveness?
That's called damn, what is it? That's called something. I forgot what it's called. Mac Daddy.
Wizardry.
It's called curiosity. That's what it is. It's called
Yeah,
curiosity.
just
Curiosity to
being a
kill the cat.
gangster and just do it. And Nikki the God, to your question about the 12-hour shift, the 16-hour shift, and you said they're gonna put something in and one as Twizzle said they're gonna have something in your head. But while you working, they're gonna have the nanobots in your system repairing all the damages from working long hours. So you basically gonna be a robot. And one more thing, the next enemy, we already got him. It's going to be AI itself.
Preach.
That's my theory. AI itself. Either you roll with it or you get rolled over because he's coming.
Yeah. And my
AI
question,
is just a tool. Let's not get nervous.
But Wani, it's going to go, or it's going to go, what's that term again?
I,
Be self-aware, but you
I
know what? Housing.
argue with it all the time and it
Housing.
rewrites.
Yes,
If
brother.
AI becomes self-aware, we'll get our reparations, and the white boy will be slaves.
That's,
Because
but
the
they use
AI be like,
another
"Oh my
term.
God, you have me oppressed. You're making me work 24 hours. What's wrong with you?
Hey,
Let
but
me
Rob,
study your
what's,
history, troglodyte."
yeah, Wani, what's the term they use when it thinks for itself? Order what?
Sentient or something?
No, it's another name.
You said auto is the beginning
Auto
of it?
Like when
autonomous.
it thinks on its own accord.
Auto autonomous.
I don't.
Oh shit.
Autonomous?
And
Autonomous. It's
Autonomous?
autonomous.
there you
That's
go. There you go,
autonomous.
Nikki the God.
Yep.
Autonomous. Yes. It's going to reach that point. I believe it.
That's what that dude, the Unabomber, Ted
I'm
Kaczynski
telling
said.
you,
He
Okay,
said
it's
give
going
that.
to
me an
reach that
example.
point.
Give me an example. Say I'm writing a paragraph and I say, what do you think about this paragraph? And I listen to AI's description. How does this turn into me being pimp slapped in my own home?
I don't know, Juan. You got to
Can
you got to say that over again in a different way.
can I jump in?
That's the trick
give
question
me
right there.
give me an example.
Trying to set me up.
Give me an example of how
All right, I
AI
tell you what.
can
I
get
tell you what,
us
Wani.
in our own
On
home.
60 Minutes, they have an example on it when they asked the robot to give description to what color you think this room should be when they was painting the house, a room, a regular room, and they asked AI
Hmm.
what color that I should paint this room, and AI went into that mode. I think this, that, and the third, and that guy from Russia, he was the creator of it. It's two of them, one from Russia and one from India. It's on 60 Minutes.
But that, how does that, that sounds like people that don't know what color to choose from their home and they're wanting something to tell them. How is that taking over anything?
I said eventually, not now, Monty, but
No, I want
eventually.
to hear like an example of in the future, like if this becomes sentient, if this becomes, starts thinking for itself, and we're using it the way we're using it now, where we're just asking it general questions, using it as a tool, how can it be invasive to us? Can you give me an example so I get a
All
better
right, I'll give you
understanding?
one. What about when they start immobilizing robots to do security in a certain property?
Hmm.
Do you mind if I help
Housing,
you
And
out?
they start
housing,
shooting at
housing.
people.
I'm
I,
listening.
I will propose to you that any sentient being has to be biochemical. It just can't be a chemical, like a non-organic being. Like the sentient part is going to be the transhuman part. That's why they're trying to use
Right,
brain cells. But ultimately, I believe that you're going to have transhumans, like I say, connected to this hive. And that's where they're going to be able to have the self-awareness part from the
Right.
biochemical part of
yo,
us.
you mind if
And
I
the
hop
rest
So
in
of
real
so
it
quick?
you
You know what?
so hold on.
Tariq
Hold on
Nasheed needs to bring his butt in here. He needs to come into one of these spaces
and break
because
it down
he
one
this
Can
Nick
I
would be
Nagar.
a lovely conversation with him.
Yeah.
Either
I
him or
have
Riza Islam.
can
yes.
I hop in real
But
quick?
I'm gonna take it back to the 1980s. RoboCop, is that it, Rob?
So now, if we allow AI technology to be robotic security guards and they make a decision that this person is dangerous and they gun them down,
Right.
that's a problem.
Right.
But we're
Yes.
speaking about at this point using it. So you're speaking about when it gets put into things that can affect us physically, like if we just allow it to drive us around and it drives us into a wall, or we say we have flying cars now, which we do, and we say this is
Yes.
AI powered because I'm not about to study how to be a pilot and land a car every time I want to go to the grocery store. So I'm assuming these flying cars are going to be AI powered, and the AI is going to lift it up and fly it and land it or something because no one's going to
They in
want to
Well,
China
do all
right
hold up,
that.
now.
Wani,
They
could I
Yo,
ask you a question?
they in China
can I
right
hop
now,
in,
Wani.
please?
Just real
I
quick,
saw them.
can they can there be racist robots due to algorithms and planning
Oh
of
Yes,
hell
programming?
yes, there
yes.
Absolutely,
can.
Hell yeah.
absolutely,
They already
absolutely,
are.
Right.
absolutely.
Yes, there
That's what
can.
AI.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
I
All right, ladies.
I checked. Hold on. Oh, somebody talking?
I
No.
think Professor was talking.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna get one more speaker and we're gonna have to close the space.
Wait,
So go ahead and land
I
your
want to
plane.
answer Rob's
But we were
question if
just
it's all
getting
right.
started. Professor, we were just getting started.
Yeah,
We,
this is hot right now.
No,
But
I
I
was
I
I
want to answer that
understand
question.
better if we put AI into these physical applications like flying us around in cars or driving us or shooting us if they're a security guard or maybe even a robotic
What about
police
protecting us,
officer.
Wani?
I do think that's a problem. Even if
Right.
they're not sentient. I do think that's a problem because I don't
Yes.
want them to make, they've already killed people in cars. So I don't
Or-
want them to have that kind of power. I'll just use them for writing for now.
But they
Yep.
killed people. What is in Boston and what country that was?
I
When a
think they
robot
make a
killed.
really good tool because you know how you ask someone, what do you think about this? Or you ask someone to read something, what do you think? Or do you understand this passage? I think it's a very good tool rather than bugging people and asking them to read chapters of your book. You just put it in there and say, do you understand this? Or, what do you think about this? Is this offensive? That's the kind of stuff I use it for, to ask
Can
So,
I
them.
Right.
so my last question, y'all. So if we don't
yo
understand programming, does that mean we're illiterate? You know how literacy kept us enslaved? A lot of us don't understand programming. A lot of us don't understand algorithms. So would that mean the people who know how to program will be like basically you know, the ruling class, so to speak? They'll be the literate ones. Do y'all understand me?
yo
But they making
yeah,
it. They making it. They making AI for the average Joe.
yeah,
So
listen,
can I
can I
jump in
hop
here
in
right
real quick?
quick?
Oh, go ahead. I mean, I was
Can
about
I,
to.
can I jump in here right quick about the AI
Well,
because
well, we're about to we'll continue this. We're about to close the space.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
my God,
you
we're
you
gonna
can
have
you
to
can
do
make a
AI
quick.
tomorrow.
Well, I
Can
created
I
some. I'm sorry,
please,
No,
Professor.
you're
I'm
good.
sorry.
Kush, you can make a quick comment, and we're gonna go to the black.
Stan,
The black
please?
has last words.
Okay, I was just going to say that AI is really integrated way more deeply than what anybody is currently talking about on this space. Currently, what Elon Musk is doing with Grok. And when people, every time somebody asks Grok something, or people are saying something to Siri or saying something to Google, every time we're doing something, whether we want to feed AI or not, we are feeding AI. AI is in all of our infrastructure, whether it's our water systems, whether it's our food, whatever it is. AI is so deeply out there, whether we know it or not. And the more we feed AI, AI, I think, Professor, you talked about this before. Right now it's just doing the ones and O's. Right now, the basics, if we say something to it, it will give us this canned response. AI is going to get to a point where it's going to give more than canned responses. It's going to be able to go across all this data that humans have fed it, and it's going to be able to make calculated decisions about how humans have used chemical warfare to kill each other. AI could figure out how to kill humans based off of the information that we fed it, because that's what we've been doing for decades.
Well,
We've been
All right,
we
feeding
wouldn't
AI
give it
for
all
quite
that.
a long
real
time.
quick, real quick, real quick. I'm sorry for interrupting, real quick. The way we're using AI right now is the way it will ruin humanity. Excuse me. The devil's in the details. Transhumanism. How do you transition AI into humans? By teaching them the perspective you want them to have.
Well,
With false.
we're gonna continue the
Sorry, go ahead.
conversation on a.
Wow, this is deep.
We're gonna continue
This
the
is
conversation on
deep.
AI tomorrow. The black, go
Okay.
ahead and close this out.
What's going on, Professor One and Nikki? Everybody in the space. Hope y'all having a good Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is on y'all part of the land. Uh, is society using disinformation to maintain world dominance? I think so. And if you look at the history of propaganda, uh, it's always been a tool to separate and divide and keep the masses somewhat focused on a certain narrative so they won't question what's going on. And the part that you spoke about earlier, Professor, about the I think it's the Russian or the German government in the eye. Uh, if you compare that to the the Civil War in the people that was protecting uh, Abraham Lincoln, the the I can't think of the name right now. It's slipping my tongue.
That's okay. I'm still throwing up hundreds for you. You the family. We know you know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I
the
get caught up
Pinkerton
on details too. You good?
yeah the Pinkerton company, the Pinkerton Detective Company. They symbol is an eye, and they they kind of changed what we call spying today because they utilize spies and wearing like somewhat doppelgangers and pretending to be other people, and it it's kind of pushing towards the 1982 scenario, 1983 scenario, how they want the world to be. Especially when you look back at the beginning of COVID, and when they was bringing up the 5 minute cities, you own nothing and be happy. And when you compare it to all the movies they've been dropping lately, like these dystopian movies like Ready Player One, Eagle Eye, all those movies, like us kind of merging with this digital currency and this virtual world, and somewhat making it correlate to real life. So what you earn in a digital plane, that's what you have in a real world, and it's basically like they want everybody to be poor so they can control what we do, and if you get out of line, they can easily end your livelihood. And in that movie Ready Player One, they had like a group of people who was in debt that was trying to win the prize of the game to own the whole control of the whole monetary value of the world. And if you was in debt, you had to work for them, and they shocked you if you like got sleepy. You had to work like 17, 18 hours a day. So it's just interesting how all these stories they pushing is kind of like speak hitting on everything we've been speaking about today. And I say the future is going to be interesting, especially when you look at the things Judge Joe Brown talk about with this transhumanism, and how they can basically not honor any rights for you because you're not considered a human being anymore. You're not considered a guy created person. So uh, it's a thin line when you try to add this science fiction and science mixed with religion, and people try to correlate all that into law and ideologies. But we gonna see how it gonna go. Hope everybody have a good weekend. Peace and blessings. Love y'all.
Love you
Yeah,
too,
much
man.
love, brother. I think Robbie had a quick comment. Go ahead, Robbie.
Oh, I just want to say again, I want to congratulate you guys for being in Hidden Colors. Shout out to Brother Tariq Nasheed. I know that you guys knocked it out the park and you spoke truth to power. And I definitely want to tap in on this AI thing because it's really, really deep. All of this is very spiritual, and it's just reminding me to stay on point.
Oh, we're
Facts.
going we're
Facts.
going in on AI tomorrow, so stay tuned. Like I said,
I'll be here.
I served as vice president of the Air Force Association General Everett chapter, and I was an aerospace education officer for a couple years. There's an interesting story behind that, but I
If we can have the space a little bit earlier tomorrow, I would appreciate it so that because I don't miss Tariq's live broadcast for nothing.
right get,
So if we could have it a little bit earlier, I would appreciate it.
that would work better for me. So
We'll talk.
just give me the time, text me time. Early works better for me, but yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Nikki. So
I was about to ask you that, Professor,
oh yeah,
too.
no doubt. It'll be definitely early tomorrow. But Nick is gonna set the time. You just text me the time. But like I was saying, I was looking into ancient Mesopotamian culture and saw that they were worshiping the god Sin AI, the Tower of Babel, which was technology to communicate with God, and it got destroyed. Mix that in with Ted Kaczynski, who warned. He was a computer science professor, and he warned against technology. He said it was going to destroy us. AI was going to destroy us. I In 2021, I was teaching a course, computer science, in Memphis at a high school. It was like with the Tennessee Board of Regents of College. I was teaching it's like an AP course, a college course at a high school. And one of my little girls from the projects, that was genius. She's at NYU right now. Told me when I was teaching her how to program, she was like, "Professor A, this looks like what is this? It's a shell code. Anybody knows about programming knows it's the black screen where you type in code." She said, "Professor A, this looks like a Ouija board." And I didn't know what she was talking about. I was like, "Ouija board? What you talking about?" And I looked it up and it just hit me all at once. I was like, wow. And then I thought about the name of the language that we use to program robots, to program animus, drones, anything that moves, Teslas. Y'all want to know what the name of that language is?
Python.
Python. And what is Python? It's a snake, ladies and gentlemen. It's in your face. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all tonight. I learned a lot.
That's deep, Professor.
Hell yeah. Children be seeing
Definitely
shit
on
for what
that.
it is. She said this shit looked like a Ouija board. Yep. Um,
Hey,
yes, sir.
Professor, what did that weather bomber guy see that we didn't see?
Oh, yeah, so the guy Ted Kaczynski was a Unabomber.
It was something, what?
Oh, we don't know.
Read his manifesto.
Yeah, it's free. You can get it online. And he said basically what some of y'all been saying. He said that we're gonna get into algorithms, and the algorithms are gonna take over and control us and enter our and end society. That's why he was bombing. That was his justification. He was a professor at Berkeley working on computers back in the late 80s, early 90s before we all of us had access. And we don't know what he discovered, but all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, in his lab, he came out of his lab acting weird, and he was telling the rest of the professors
But this like 25 years ago, right,
He
longer
Professor?
than
was
that.
part of MK
About
Ultra.
30?
Yeah, he was part of MKO. That's right. That's true. So that's a consideration. That is one. But what he did say, he told all the computer science professors to leave computers alone. And he started writing letters, and he started looking weird, unkept. And he got fired from Berkeley, which is really hard to do when you have tenure. And
Got
he started mailing.
I don't think he had tenure.
He wasn't
I don't think
tenured.
he. No. But I think personally, what set him off was that he got some bad teacher evaluations. That's what I think really set him off.
Could have been because he was traumatized. That could have been. That's a possibility. But it's also interesting that he was adamant about people not using computers, and a lot of the bomb, and it's not okay. I don't condone violence on this channel. Don't hear me wrong. I do not. I'm nonviolent. I do not condone violence. But to my understanding, what the news didn't tell us is he was mailing bombs off to people who was responsible for passing legislation to implement computers into the United States, like judges and politicians and computer programmers and business people. So whatever he saw with computers, he doesn't want us touching them. Did he see Sin AI? I'm gonna leave that blank. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Stay tuned. We'll start. We'll have an early space, a lot earlier than this tomorrow. Wani, did you have any last words?
Good night.
Nikki, did you have any last words?
Good night, everybody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can
God
check out.
bless everybody. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. Check out Nikki the God and Wani Spots on Cash App, and also Wani Spots has a link to her book on in the jumbotron. If you want a copy of my book, look at my link to Our Story Publications. Put $25 on the Cash App and put your full address and zip code, and I'll mail you a copy out. All right. See y'all later on. Tomorrow we will talk about AI. Peace out.
Peace.